It's very hot in here. This is a bad time. It's a piss. This is the Giant Bombcast, and the heat is on.
Revisited by the piss wizard.
Yes.
Holy shit!
And I gotta. Okay. Well, the heater isn't even on. I don't even know what the fuck's. I was looking at my phone so that I could turn the heater down. It's a constant struggle.
Wait, you have a Wi-Fi heater?
Yeah, no, I got it. My thermostat is on the internet.
That's
scary. Can I mess with your heat?
If I gave you all the login and stuff for the app or whatever, then probably, yeah. I mean,
Cyberpunk 2077.
Exactly. Yeah, when I had roommates, and I would occasionally, you can lock it so it can't go above a certain heat, which is nice. But when I had roommates, one of them would routinely turn it up to like 75 or some insane shit while I was at work.
Oh God!
And then not pay his share of the utilities in a timely fashion.
Ooh.
And so I would just open up the app at work back when that was in a separate location, and then just turn it down and lock it at a low temperature and be like,
and
get
then
fucked.
laugh.
Yeah. And then laugh maniacally. Now that person is my wife, and she turns it up to 71, which to me is still too high.
It's the perfect number. Tell your wife 71. Perfect.
What?
71. I'm
number.
Nude at 71 degrees. I am dying in here.
I feel like to me 68 is the compromise temperature. That's like, okay, I guess I'll go to 68. I guess.
Yeah.
Well, the thing is, you set it to 71 because you know it's not going to stay at 71. It's going to dip to like 69, which is the actual perfect number. But if you set it to the perfect number, it's going to get too cold. Because you don't leave the heater on all day. That's for madmen.
No, exactly. But he worked nights, so he was here
during
the day.
Too cold is the perfect temperature.
Yeah, and that's the other thing is, with a baby in the house, babies need to be warm. So
yeah,
that's been the catalyst for like, okay, now I live the heat life in a way that I never have before. And let me tell you, between that and this room full of screens, this room in particular roasts, and all year round. Summertime it sucks in here. Wintertime it sucks in here. It sucks in here.
Did you ever get your headphones sweaty?
Oh yeah, all the time.
Oh, I hate it. No, it's the worst.
Over the summer, yeah, I definitely had some like end of stream, like, oh, this is not
earbud sweat is the worst.
Ugh.
Oh God, yeah.
Oh no.
Yep. Think about it. Yeah,
I'd rather have a chest bursting alien than a sweaty earbud.
That can be arranged.
Yeah.
Can it? Wait, can it? I mean, that's Hollywood magic can do all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, you got a green screen now. Let's see it. You could just make anything happen, right? You just press the
together real quick. Just fade to this
new version of OBS. It's got that chest burster button in it. You just hit that. And
yeah, Mewtwo's gonna bust right out of there.
Mm-hmm. It's 26.1.1 is just the only thing they added in OBS was the chest burster. This is the Giant Bombcast, your home for video games. Right? Is that's the slogan of the show, right?
One of your
video games
and This is where the games live. Get you one.
That's right. Yeah. Yep. That's our famous slogan. Catch a game. Yeah.
Ooh.
Everyone's favorite. God, everyone's favorite. Yeah, everyone's favorite.
The most irreverent gaming podcast in the biz.
That's right. We're wacky. We got all the Borderlands quotes that you need. Catch a ride, and then the other one.
Get you one.
Get you one. And get bumblefucked. Or what's the get dog?
Get dog.
That's it. No, I think that was Bulletstorm. Bulletstorm was telling people to
is either
dog
Bulletstorm or
dick in the
Yakuza.
flop house.
I can't remember.
What was the trademark Bulletstorm term? The dick whistle or kick you in the there was some term.
There was, but was that even in the game, or was that like
just a marketing
interview with Cliff, and he said that out loud?
Kick you in the dick whistle.
I mean, it makes sense when you say "kick me in the dick whistle." I know exactly what you're talking about.
What, you're gonna kill my dick? I'll kill your dick. This is what happens when you Google Bulletstorm dick.
That's it.
Yeah,
I think that's it.
I'll kill your dick.
That's
what it. Okay.
What?
They're only targeting a certain group of people then.
That's
Or is it the mental?
yes, it's
Right,
the mental
the
everyone's
spiritual
got it.
dick.
Everyone's got. That's what the term dickhead comes from, I think.
Ah, okay.
Yeah.
See, Bombcast, the home of learning etymology as well.
Etymology, science, all of like music advice for how to make and listen to music. I recommend your ears.
It's a good start.
For step one. That's step one. Open your
I
ears.
like to
Step
listen
two,
to
open
music
your heart.
with my butt.
Okay. All right. Yeah.
to-
That's
Like to,
if you the Prince song "Party Man" requires a butt. You have to listen to that
Okay.
with your butt to
that's,
truly
that's true.
feel the effects of it.
I only listen to music with D-Box.
That's D-Box is D-Box is trying to get into games.
What?
Do you see any of that
Or is that-
shit? Like they're trying
is
to sell chairs in the home.
Wait, is
for
D-Box at
video games.
CES?
I don't know. Like what is at CES? Do you mean they exist and are like, hey, we're over here? Like, yeah, sure.
Let's see. CES 2007 D-Box display.
Yeah. No, but I got an email. This isn't even news. Welcome to the not news section of the podcast. But yeah, so over the last couple of weeks, I think D-Box has said like, hey, we're going to try to sell people chairs to live in their home with, and then we're trying to get video games to support D-Box. Dick
see it.
tits is the phrase, according to chat, that we missed from Bulletstorm.
Oh, I'm glad we got that. I'm glad we rectified
Yeah,
that
thank you
situation.
so much, chat.
Thank you, chat.
Happy to announce that I am a contributor to Lib D-Box. It's coming soon to video games near you.
Yeah. Yes. These are not rad game tools.
No.
Now that Epic owns those, it's got to be separate. Open source D-Box library.
As long as
Yeah.
Bink continues to be out there doing it themselves independently, it'll be okay.
I was just watching some Binks like last week. They open right in VLC. It's fucking great.
Wait, do they really?
I mean, I don't think I installed any weird codecs that'll enable it to just open Binks, but yeah.
Oh my god. Rad Game Tools owns Bink.
Yeah, no, yes. Bink is
I
part of
didn't
the
know.
Rad Game Tools.
I thought
No,
Bink was separate. Oh no.
no, that's right. If you are making a game in the Unity engine and you want to use Bink videos, get fucked. I'm sure that's not true. I bet actually Epic is just like whatever, use Rad Game Tools wherever. If you're making a renderware game somehow, still feel free. Speed
Speedbox.
Speedbox. Speedboxing.
Speedbox, yes.
Offer code bomb. Hey, what's video games? Those are happening these days. Who's you guys played some of them? We're hoping Jason will join us a little bit later. His internet exploded.
Sounds like
He came in and he's like, I am from the future. My Wi-Fi is fucked.
Get out now! We're like, oh shit.
sounds like as of 2 minutes ago he might be good.
Okay.
All right, if he's listening, he can jump in whenever. We may not see him yet, but we will eventually.
Well, Ben, let's start with you. It says here, I've got CrossCode and Animal Crossing. Why don't you talk about one of those cross games?
Great,
Animal Crossing
Jeff.
CrossCode.
All right. What do you want to? I mean, so I've been playing 2 video games nonstop
Whoa.
for the last
Calm
2
down.
weeks, really. And it's Animal Crossing. So Animal Crossing, that is a game I checked now. The Switch says we have logged about 680 hours. I'm going to say a fair amount of idle time in there.
Wow.
But it's a weird. So Animal Crossing is a weird game for me.
Is that you and your partner on the same Switch?
Yes, and it
Okay.
is way more my partner than me.
Okay, so split between 2 people. That's a little bit more understandable.
Yeah. Definitely at the start, it was kind of like 50-50. You know, we were playing most of it together, but it kind of got away from me. My partner a day. And it's weird, like watching your island change. I'm gonna say like your island and my island and stuff. It's our island, but for the toxic, like it's weird because like I'll just like open up the minimap and I don't recognize half the villagers, and I'm like, who's this person? And like, what is their deal? And like, it's kind of interesting because it's something that's changing so dramatically when everything else around me in real life is so static. It's kind of nice to have Animal Crossing there to be this kind of... It's providing a lot of control when I feel like I don't have any control of my life.
Yeah.
Reminds you of the passing of the seasons when you can't leave your house.
Yeah, and so we're like messing with the snow stuff now. I don't know if any of you guys have seen what they've been doing with the seasonal stuff. There's usually like, hey, Jason.
Hey.
Welcome back.
Thank you.
So with Animal Crossing, there's usually like a seasonal event that's like over the course of whatever, like a month, and then a day event, which is like you build up to that day. So for Christmas, it was Toy Day, and it had a whole thing of like you could get these special trees, and the trees drop ornaments. And then if you get enough ornaments on Toy Day, you can exchange them for gifts, and then you give gifts to people, blah, blah, blah. You get gifts back. This was the first time we ever got completely fucked by the event, not knowing that you needed to plant trees way ahead of time, have those mature, and then they would drop ornaments. And we brushed up against the dark side. We were like, well,
you did it, huh?
We brushed up. The internet was like, there's one way to get that stuff if you really want it, and it's time travel.
So have they not found a way to prevent? For some reason I thought I saw some people saying like, A, they had either found a way to prevent that, or B, you would actually get like penalized for doing it somehow. Is that not the case? Can you just...
Don't they like come up and give you shit if you do it? I think it's like, well, I guess I don't know. I haven't played enough of current Animal Crossing, but like the thing was you could always go ahead because there was no way for it to know if you turned the system off and set the clock ahead, it would think it was a day later. But if you ever played a game in the future and then rewound the clock back 8 days and it knew you had played on days that were past that day, you know, you could have a situation where Rossetti pops up and be like, what the fuck are you doing?
I'm not an idiot.
Have you no shame?
I gotta say, I don't know because we ended up not doing it, and I was so tempted because we've done every other event. We have, you know, there's special items you only get in that event, and it's like, well, are they? I guess we could wait a year. So to take our mind off of things, I spent 6.5 hours this weekend. I hit up OfficeMax.com. I bought a bunch of graph paper, and we're redesigning our island from the ground up. I have like 10 pages of notes here. I don't know how much of this plays on the camera here, but we're just doing everything from the ground up. I've got like pages upon pages upon pages of like, this is here we go. Here's all the building placements. It's like, okay, well, what villagers do we want where? You know, these villagers get along with each other. As you can see here, it's very important to have Julia, Wendy, and Bertha together because their types match, and you're going to get better development there. And over in this corner, we put Rodney with Flora, Fauna, and Cherry because Rodney's social. Oh, Rodney's at number 1. Rodney's the only one we won't let move off the island.
Is he still the number 1 dreamy?
He is. So there's a whole like Reddit out there devoted to hating Rodney. I do not understand what the deal with that is. They just can't get down with his casual lifestyle. Anyway, this is all building up to say. Go ahead, Brett.
Go ahead. I'm trying to figure out if I'm confusing Rodney with somebody else. We should probably not get into it.
Maybe you're thinking of Raymond, the cat with the glasses. Yeah, no.
I thought I was thinking of Raymond, everybody's favorite, not Rodney, the hated hamster.
Yes, everyone loves Raymond. True.
Everyone loves Raymond. This is all building up to say that if you're looking for a good way to pass some time, completely redesigning your island from the ground up is a very zen experience because we're flattening every cliff, we're pulling every tree, we're doing it half an island at a time. So it's like, okay, move everything from the left half of the island to the right half, lower it all down, start carving in the rivers, the lakes. It's just a very like, I don't know. It's hitting that Minecraft kind of like, you know, I'm just going to zone out and do something really low impact and put on some music and just sit here and spend a nice Sunday afternoon with a cup of coffee, completely redesigning an island.
Do you have to pay when you redesign your island and stuff?
So you have to pay for moving houses around. That's 10 50K? I think a house is 50K a pop. You have to pay to demolish bridges or ramps. Also, each of these can only be done one a day.
Oh.
So you have to move all the houses to the corner one at a time, and then move all the back one at a time. And I was like, okay, well, what if we actually time travel again? Like, now the time travel thing is even more appealing because it's like, well, I want to get this shit done. So I don't know. We're trying to do it honestly, but like by my calculations, this is going to take like another 2.5 weeks.
Oh gosh. Well, it's you got the time, right? I mean, that's the thing. Is and like Minecraft's the same way. Like kind of once you open the door to like, well, what if we just enabled creative? What if I just typed in the command to give myself a diamond pickaxe because I'm sick of going and getting more diamonds?
Right.
It's that thing of like, well, okay, but then if I'm not doing that, what am I doing? What am I actually trying to accomplish in the game if it's not this? And being done with it just means you're just going to be done with it. So it's sort of, yeah, well, whatever. You're only cheating yourself, is what I'm saying.
Exactly. Yeah,
and you have to be okay with that.
You're really like, I mean, it all comes down to what you're doing it for. Like, there's going to be a lot of people, and this is something I realized is like playing this game with another person who's much more of a casual gamer than me. Like, if I had it my way, I probably would have burnt out so hard on Animal Crossing trying to do like a million things, but having to do it with somebody else and kind of like compromise sometimes and take it a little bit slower than I would maybe like to do has kind of made me appreciate the journey a little more than what I would do in these kinds of games, which is get to the destination as fast as I can and then move on because I got a million games to play and I don't have time to do this.
True, yeah.
We don't have time to play video games for fun around here.
I got video games to play. I can't play all these video games.
That's right.
Yeah.
There's no structured end game at the stage that you're at this point, right? Like anything you're doing is just for your own satisfaction, right? There are no goals or anything.
No, you kind of got to make your own. So like our goal right now is just get as many pictures from the villagers as you can, which is when you hit a certain friendship level with a villager, they will give you their photo. And at that point, they can move off the island in peace, get somebody new, cut the process going all over again. And that's the kind of stuff, that day-to-day upkeep is what my partner likes more than me. Like I like these big long-term projects. My partner likes just like running around the island, talking with the people, giving out gifts, like choosing which gifts are going to go to which people. So we kind of make a really good team in that front. I haven't really enjoyed a video game like this other than like playing Minecraft with you guys and some other friends. Like it's a very specific type of game experience that I think I really need right now in quarantine. It's really scratching some itches that I never thought I would get from an Animal Crossing game. And I think it just is like a big part of it is it's my first. Mm-hmm. I think if I went into this game like Jeff, I think I probably would share a lot of your problems with it if I had the expectations that you did. And even not having those expectations, I see a lot of faults with the game. Like
it's like, yeah, it's the sort of game where you look at it, it's like really easy to look at it and go like, man, if they did these like 5 mechanical things, and they did a few of them this time, which is almost like more frustrating in a way because you're like, man, just go the rest of the way. Like it's not. Yeah, like it could be better for sure. Yeah, and they could have done more.
6th one, something like that. How many have they made? Something like that. Like GameCube,
2 mobile,
Wii, DS, 3DS.
GameCube.
This is at least the 5th one, I think.
5th or 6th, yeah.
Pocket cam
and like
on
Ben,
phone.
this one's my first as well, and I got very much the same kind of like therapeutic benefits from it. Like when Animal Crossing hit, that's when quarantine started happening. Man, it was so easy to just lose myself in that game. It was extremely therapeutic at the time, much needed.
Yeah. And I think I ended up getting that out of Minecraft. I mean, that's when we were playing it for sure, and then I stuck with it for probably another month after we stopped playing it, and then sort of fell off and unsubscribed to all the Patreons I signed up for all the texture packs and stuff. And then signed up for, or not signed up for, then the RTX version of like the Windows Store version of Minecraft came out, and that brought me back to it. And so
same. Have you been messing with that thing? Have you been getting in the community?
Not
there's
so
a bunch of community made packs for that thing now that have like different materials in them and stuff. Like people are just like, oh, in this pack, all the terracotta blocks are actually like glowing lights or whatever. Like they're just throwing out old stuff in there and turning them into like ray tracing centric stuff. It's pretty fascinating.
Oh, yeah.
But
That's
then
cool.
it turns into that thing of like, well, if you want to do this, you need Kelly's pack with these 3 add-ons, and you have to drag them into the right order. So this one overrides that one, and it's like a big mess.
Yeah, and you have to drag it in before you load.
Right.
And that stuff isn't necessarily as easy to mess around with. It's easier than Java, I guess, but it's still kind of clunky. The NVIDIA pack that I installed first, the first like RTX enabled pack I got, all of the ore glows.
Yeah.
And as light sources and stuff. So even like
That's
iron
cool.
ore and stuff like that just like casts a ton of light.
Dude, it's so fucking cool to be digging underground with no lights around you and then like bust into a cave and like see all this light everywhere from the ore.
Yeah, that stuff's really cool. But also then it has this side effect of like, well, now I don't want to mine the ore because this room looks too cool for me to go and fuck up by digging up all these light sources. So
we might have to do some more with that at some point, because I took a bunch of those packs and basically made a ray tracing lab with all the different lights and like glass. Like I got a mod that takes all the framing out of the glass blocks, so they're just like pure glass with nothing else.
Nice.
I was like stacking them on top of each other and then going up and looking through them, and I was getting like a fisheye effect. It was like literally warping the surroundings into this like curved looking fisheye thing, and it's like, man, they really are like simulating this stuff.
Brad, you almost made a camera just then.
It was
refracting light in glass.
Will Smith and his daughter streamed that thing, and they straight up built a working camera obscura in that thing. Like it's nuts what that thing can do.
Yeah, that thing's awesome. And it's nice to have like not that you need one, I guess, but like it felt nice to be dragged back into Minecraft to be like, oh, awesome, I'm gonna spend another just night times. I've got my quiet nights here where everyone else is asleep. I was like, I'm just gonna try to unwind a little Minecraft. It's been good for that. CrossCode, Ben, what's up with CrossCode?
CrossCode came out 1.0 in like 2018. Mid 2018, and then last year it launched on Switch and PS4 and Xbox. But I had originally played it when it came out on Steam and got a couple zones in. I got 2 elements for anyone who knows what that game is, and kind of put it down. And then I was like, I need something to play on my Switch that's not Animal Crossing. So I hit up CrossCode, and I've gotten fairly far at this point. I've gotten 3 of the 4 elements. For anyone who doesn't remember, CrossCode is like a top-down 2D action RPG, I guess is the best way to put it.
A lot of RPG it's like a
elements.
Fake MMO.
Yeah, and it has the trappings of an MMO because it's like it takes place in a virtual game. You are kind of a sentient avatar in an MMO where actual players are controlling characters, and it's
is it like gameplay wise? Is it like sort of Link to the Past-ish?
It is very inspired by like that kind of game. The dungeons specifically, the gameplay is kind of like an action dual joystick shooter.
Yeah.
You're aiming and shooting, but then you also have like a melee attack, and you also have special moves that will do all sorts of stuff, and different elements will give you different special moves, yada yada yada. But basically the dungeon layout is like you do half of a dungeon, and then you get the new element, and then you do the other half of the dungeon with that new element. And so like the fire one is one of the early ones you get, and you're like, okay, I can light these torches, and then you are like, oh, I can melt this water column, I can do this other stuff, and they start layering that stuff on top of each other. I just wanted to shout out this game because, like, honestly, so it's probably like one of the best RPGs I've ever played. Like I just straight up, this game is incredible in its design and its attention to detail, and it's like a big part of the game is like the actual physical layout of the worlds, because a big part of it is like you can parkour around and you got to kind of like hop on ledges and move up ledges. And it's got kind of this, it is a top-down 2D game, but with verticality to it, where you will like kind of work your way through a level, hop up a few floors, and then keep working your way around. Jason, you how much did you play?
I didn't get quite nearly as far. I think I got the first element. I don't remember what it was. It's been about a year or so since I played, but yeah, I definitely remember the twin stick shooting and how good that felt, because you're shooting it across walls or into walls and like banking shots and stuff, and
Right.
Felt incredibly good.
There's tons of puzzles where you have to like bounce stuff around, move stuff around. It just seems like one of the. I checked it out, and there's only 2 programmers listed on the team, and they worked on this game for like 7 years or something. And it feels more tightly designed than like a lot of RPGs I've played made by like bigger studios. It's really something special, and I think like if you like those kinds of, if you grew up with the Super Nintendo, like if you like those kinds of like 16-bit dungeon crawly games, you owe it to yourself to try this game, because it's phenomenal, and the writing is also incredible. Like they do such a good job of humanizing these characters, and like the game just keeps taking turns that don't feel contrived. It's really something special. I will say, you should probably play it on PC. Playing the Switch version, I have hit a lot of slowdown. It's better than when it started. I remember when it launched, a lot of people were like, this is borderline unplayable.
Wow.
It is inconvenient in some areas, but
It's on Game Pass, I believe, also.
Yeah, I think
Yep.
Neat.
That is a great place to try it out then, because I truly like. I could talk about this game for hours. It is just so tightly designed. It captures that essence of like all the shit that was cool about Zelda and those games. Like I just hit a dungeon where you're going through it, and then all of a sudden it spits you out on the overworld. And do you remember how fucking cool the first time you're like in a dungeon in Link to the Past? I think it was the desert dungeon, and then you like go through a door and suddenly you're in this weird corner of the overworld, and you're like, this doesn't feel right. Like I'm still in dungeon mode, but like now I'm back here and I can see like a piece of heart in that corner over there. Just like little moments like that. It's so good at capturing. It's such a love song to those games, and I think it's excellent.
Cool.
that's cool.
Yeah, I wish I played more of it at the time.
I think I fiddled with it that year a little bit, and I was like, this seems neat. And I remember the quick look, but I never dug into it too deeply.
I will say it gets fucking hard too, man. Both like in terms of like having to level up and keep level with enemies, and also like some of these puzzles, I have to go to a guide. Like I'm just like unabashedly, I don't mind looking at a guide for a video game.
Yeah, that's fine.
And
No shame.
no shame.
That's
Normalize
I think when I get back to looking at Tech War for DOS, I think that's a game I'm going to have to. Yeah, I'm going to have to refer to a guide, because that game makes
tell me
zero
you're
sense.
going to rob yourself of the pure Tech War experience?
How
are you going to get Jonas?
Yeah, we won't catch Janus or Monty Dollar or whatever the fuck, Jimmy Dollar. I need to. Yeah, no, that game is impenetrable is not the word. I think you just need to go to a location and do a thing in that game, and it's maybe not as complicated as it initially lets on. But I just want to read a guide so that I can get a sense of like, what is the scope of this game, because it seems like it could be very open world, very ambitious, and it seems like it could just be like, no, we're just like, these maps are actually just bad about telling you where to go, but you really only need to go to one place or whatever. So.
And also, everybody seems to be shooting you, and
all the time.
You're not supposed to. It's certain people.
It's a tech war.
Cheddar gets mad at you.
Yeah, I mean, I pulled my gun out in that case. That's I think
that'll do it.
But sometimes there's a beep. Sometimes some of the people have this beeping noise, and then they running at you, and I think they blow up because they're androids. And then when you shoot them, at the bottom of the screen it says "was an android" when you kill an android, or if it's a hologram, which you can
an android.
Like, think about the idea of like this game where it has you shooting holograms, because holograms are there shooting at you, and they're clearly, you see through them. They're transparent to a certain extent. You look at them and go like, well, that's not a real person. And then you shoot them, and then it says at the bottom, "was a hologram." You're like, shit. Thanks, Bill.
Are they shooting hollow bullets?
Hollow points, maybe. I don't know. We'll have to. Again, I have to read a guide to find that information out, because I don't have the instruction manual to guide me here. Maybe I could just find scans of that and try that.
If you just read the tech board books.
Yeah. You should start with all the novels, really.
Right. Yeah, I guess so. That's What am I thinking over here? No, I'm not gonna.
Just read them in the original Italian, though.
Well, yeah. I mean, that's the only way to do it. Sounds like a couple of y'all, some of y'all played some of this Monster Hunter demo while we're talking.
Yeah,
quite a bit. Jan, I want to get your impressions, because I got to play it on a relaxed Friday stream last week. Why don't you kick us off?
So I was initially hesitant when the trailer for this came out, and I thought it would be too much of the older Monster Hunter, which I kind of bounced off of the secluded zones and like the loading in between stuff. But I was glad to see when you booted up on a Relaxed Friday stream that it's pretty much an open world, and I think it's kind of impressive for what they're managing to do on the Switch. Jason, I think you said they built this from the ground up, right? Like it's using
in the RE engine.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know. And like I had a great time with World, and having the extra mobility options, like riding your dog companion and the little
doggy
grappling
drifting.
hook. Doggy drifting.
Yeah.
So this game does it have the clutch claw by any chance?
Kind of. Like you've got the wire bug now. So in place of that clutch claw, they've really just like blown out that idea, and just now it's for mobility, now it's for combat. It's much, they built upon it essentially.
Mm-hmm. I also like seeing like a bunch of different like endemic life and like monsters that I kind of like start to grow tired of in World. And I guess like the Monster Hunter lore and like the chest of creatures is rich and vast. The other thing I enjoyed was the absence of the scout flies. I liked having just a giant arrow pointing me where to go versus kind of hunting down the scout flies and like finding tracks and looking for mucus in the world,
leveling up your scout flies, all that stuff.
Yeah. So I'm
at the beginning of the stage, you throw a scout up in the air, which is an owl, and he'll scout out like where the big monsters are, so you can just go straight to them. There's no hunting involved.
But yeah, I had a fun time.
Monster Hunter.
Why do they call it something different then? Monster walking
Monster
up
fighter.
to and stabbing. Rise,
yeah.
But yeah, I had a bunch of fun with it. I just stuck with like the weapons I knew, and like that hammer still swings pretty dang good.
They sure do.
Yeah.
Do you
Does this feel like the older stuff, like a good combination of World and older Monster Hunter games?
Yeah, absolutely. Like it's got the the aesthetics of like an old Monster Hunter, but it's got the modern what's the word I'm looking for, or the phrase?
Conventions?
Quality of life improvements. There we go.
Yeah.
That were in World, so it mixed into this game. Plus, he added mobility. It kind of speeds up combat a little bit because especially with like a lance user. So a lance user now has a power to where he sticks a kunai in the monster, and then you get like a little tether to him. So whenever you get like knocked too far away from combat, you can just hit like ZL and B, and you zip line directly to the monster again. You don't have to trudge all the way in there. So it speeds stuff up. It's got a really good pace to it, I think, because all the weapons have new skills, and they're all pretty flashy. They're pretty cool. This is going to be a fun one, I think. I don't want to say that I had fatigue really, but I didn't want more of the just the same Monster Hunter like World experience. maybe I wanted to see different monsters, but we're getting that plus, the wire bug stuff. And the puppy, the doggy drifting. You get to have two, companions with you this time, a mix of, a dog or a cat. And you get to have, companions with you when you're playing multiplayer as well. So it's a lot of big changes for the Monster Hunter.
Yeah. How well does it run on Switch? I saw people counting.
Really good.
Yeah, resolution and stuff looks okay, and it's not too muddy.
Yeah, I don't know about resolution, but it looks fine. Some of the textures are a little flat. That's kind of to be expected, I guess. It is coming to PC later, so if you really want to sit it out and wait for like a 60 frames per second version, you'll have that eventually. But it looks and runs like reasonably well, like really well, I should say. Why not? I was really impressed with it.
I was trying it on handheld mode, and maybe chugged a couple times, but otherwise, performance it was pretty impressive.
Cool.
Yeah, have they gotten into like how the multiplayer is going to work at all?
They didn't show off like a hub world or anything like that, or like a hunting lodge. They just have similar to previous demos. They have like two monsters that you have to hunt, or that you can hunt, and they'll throw you directly into the map. So they didn't show off how multiplayer really works. They did have a multiplayer option. I wasn't able to find any rooms when I tried because I did early access code and nobody was playing. So I would assume that it would have been the same for everybody, that you just start off on that map. But
yeah, well, we'll have to see how they build the hub and all that. I will probably try. I guess I will probably try this out.
Yeah,
which is a weird thing to. I had fun with Monster Hunter World more than I thought I would, and then when this got announced and looked like old Monster Hunter, like I was just like, man, forget it. Like, no thanks. Like that is, I do not want to go back. But like this seems like they are finding enough of that newer stuff or newer style that like I'm still kind of like,
I will say that the wire bug stuff kind of adds a layer of complexity to an already complex.
Sure. Yeah.
Weapon system, especially if you get into like the charge blade or something like that.
Because you're like managing meters almost with that, right? Because you can only use so many wire bugs at a time or whatever. Is it they recharge? Right?
They recharge, and you can find extra ones on the map. But you've got to manage that, and they're good for both traversal and for combat, which is kind of a bummer. I wish they kind of separated those so you could use it more essentially. But it is like adding a layer of complexity onto already unsimplified stuff.
For sure.
Do you know if you
sorry
can,
about that?
If you can ride your dogs with your dogs? So if we're doing multiplayer, we all got our little pups just cruising down the world.
Oh yeah,
oh man,
hop on, man.
Dog posse.
Dog posse.
That sounds all right.
Posse up.
Jason, looks like you've been playing some Final Fantasy VII Remake.
Yeah, I'm slowly getting back into that game. I don't think I'm going to get far enough to put it on my top 10 as much as I really want to. I haven't played enough of it, but I'm going to. Tonight's like the last night essentially before we've got to have like our top 10 list done. So I'm gonna cram and see where I stand on that. But
how far are you? I'm in the same boat. That I liked what I played of that game. It ended up being kind of a casualty of the pandemic to a large extent for me, of just not being able to devote time to it. But
right, I just got to section 6. I think the paradise kind of
like the nightclub place.
Yeah, the nightclub. Yeah, okay. I just got a hand job.
Yep. Oh, you're coming up on it's my favorite boss fight in that game.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Excellent. Yeah,
maybe
I'll
you're
get
right
to that
up on the door.
That game seems
I'm having not trouble with it, but it is an RPG and there's definitely some slow parts that I've experienced so far, which is a bummer. But at the same time, like they've really done a number on this remake. Like they really went for it.
Oh yeah.
It's more than just, like a port or anything like that. It's a full on, brand new game, and it's been really cool hearing the remixes of music because I'm so familiar with those tracks, and obviously it's a gorgeous game. I'm really impressed with what I've played thus far.
It's really neat. I like what they did with that thing it's pretty awesome. Like as someone who had like next to no affinity for the original game, even at the time, like the idea of remaking it and just like it's the status it gained over the years and stuff, like that remake just sounded like just fucking God, just get it out of the way.
Right.
I definitely had
they finally pulled the cash in forward. Like,
right.
I had a similar reaction of like, fucking fine. You're just going to pander to the mob here. Fine. Just do it.
Just
like,
get it done. So these
it
people
was
can
never
fucking move on and go back to Kingdom Hearts or
because for
me,
having
to anime, whatever,
Because I mean, for me, like having played every Final Fantasy since the first one, or at least every one that came out here, it was like probably not even in my top 5 Final Fantasies, So I was like, yes, of course, this is the one you're going to give this treatment to. Fine.
But like the stuff they did to it is like pretty fucking awesome. It's really cool that they put in a lot more work on that thing and took it in interesting directions and stuff and all. I just it's really impressive how they managed to. What they managed to do with that game, especially in the confines of like that rabid fucking fan base and all that stuff, like being able to be like, oh no, we're gonna do something a little different here.
Well, so I don't know what it is exactly at the end of the game that is that different, but there is something that they did apparently that has like, if anything, like it seems like the purists are the ones who are the least satisfied.
I'm completely fine with it.
Hey, let me tell you, as somebody who beat that game, I don't know what they did either.
Right? Yeah.
The combat in that game, I felt like I got really freaking good. I could nail the combos. I got the timing down perfectly. Nice. And then the second I went online and watched other people playing it, and that they're incredibly much more better than me, disheartened me from playing more of the game. I mean, I beat it along with Ben, but like,
I'm in a similar place where like I beat it and I was like, oh, let me get hard mode a crack, and I like dove into something really hard in hard mode. And I was just like, this is a different video game. I was playing something else. What the fuck is this? And I would watch a guide, like you said, and just like people just perfectly comboing between. Okay, you're gonna have Tifa do this and then this. It's just
like you can do that. That's a thing.
Yeah. I'm really glad that they kind of started experimenting with this kind of combat in 15, and I think they really refined it for this game.
Yeah, this made going back to the Kingdom Hearts 3 DLC really hard to play because that's already a fairly limited combat system, and you're depending on your AI to maybe do stuff at the right time, but having the control over like your healer to actually heal you, or Barrett to be a tank, or Tifa to bring down the trap house, is so damn fun compared to going back to Kingdom Hearts and staring at
mashing
A. I'm just mashing A,
Yeah.
Another thing that keeps me going back to that thing is the persistent rumors that they're going to do some kind of PS5 work on it.
God, I would love that because seeing this in like 30 frames per second is just kind of a bummer.
Yeah, like that is by no means confirmed or even like really substantiated that well, but there's just enough of it going around that I'm like, man,
it's a big enough game that it certainly deserves it, right? I mean,
totally.
Yeah.
It's huge.
Yeah. Also, like weird, like that game never even got a patch until like right before the PS5 came out. Like literally the first patch of any kind that came down for that thing was like 3 weeks before the PS5 came out or less.
Well, the amount of time they spent working on it and thinking about it and all the other stuff, I guess they got it done.
I guess
before they put it out.
Yeah, but like I don't know. I'm at the point now where it's like I would like to play through the rest of it, but I would kind of like to wait if they're going to do the work there. Yeah. The other thing is, if I'm going to spend my time playing a JRPG right now, it's not going to be that one.
Right,
13 Sentinels, baby. Right,
right. 13 Sentinels, man.
Get in the tank, Brad.
Sentinel number 7.
Right.
Does it feel like Yakuza came along and ate Final Fantasy's proverbial lunch?
For me, I don't know how much of it is this being my first Yakuza game. Because first of all, are they all like this?
Kind
Are
Are they all
in
this fucking
Meta's-
absurd?
Oh,
Or did
yeah.
they really
Yes.
go? I mean, I knew all of them were like somewhat absurd, but like, really?
Mhm.
Like
This one is
Well,
maybe
this
like a
is-
little bit more in some ways because I think
Because-
just the
I mean,
just the nature of the combat is like ridiculous in a sense
Sure.
by making it an RPG. I think that's
Sure.
it's silly as a premise, whereas in the previous games, obviously you're hitting buttons and punching
yeah.
dudes.
Actually, like, I didn't really think about it that much, but even the juxtaposition of this being a JRPG with like classic JRPG mechanics, and
Yeah.
like the main character being obsessed with JRPGs and like mechanics and story sort of informing each other, like even that is a cool aspect of it. But like,
Yeah.
I mean, at this point, I have done battle with a room full of diaper-wearing gangsters.
Who
Yeah,
I have-
hasn't?
And then
I
did you
have-
recruit them to fight with you? In the
Yeah,
future?
dude. I have not summoned my new pound mate just yet. But
I was
good.
so
Pound
mad
mates
when
are
you
so
couldn't.
expensive.
I was so mad when you couldn't summon the baby daddy Yakuza boss during the day because I wanted to see him out and about.
There's kind of like a shocking amount of like interlocking systems and stuff in that. Yeah, like the fact that like the pound mates are the summons. They're like you do it through an app on the phone, but like
Mhm.
yeah, like certain pound mates have certain restrictions. Like oh, this guy only works at night, or this guy does this, and like
Only fights humans.
right. I vanquished the piss wizard last night.
Good.
Oh, excellent.
Did you pick him out of the lineup first try?
So yeah, I wanted to ask: is it possible to get the wrong one? Because I got it on the first try.
I also got on the first try. We're just really good at identifying when a dude is pissing, I guess.
This was-
Totally.
yeah.
I've watched a lot of people do it. Yeah.
It really comes through experience, of course. I picked the second guy from the right. Is that who you picked?
That's who I picked also.
Sounds
like,
right.
I just wonder if whoever you pick turns out to be the right one, or if there's actually other ways that can go.
I don't think you can fail any of the quests in that game. I don't
Right.
think there's any sort of like hard fails. So it probably like you turn him around. He's like, I was just like eating a sandwich, and then you like get to try again or something.
Can you get
What's
locked out of the side quests? Because I feel like I've gone pretty far and I started like mainlining it that
No.
I've skipped a bunch. Okay, good.
And some of them are like some of them you like do part 1 and then you have to wait a couple chapters and then you can do part 2. But even if you just don't even do part 1, you can resume that. I don't think it hard locks you out of anything.
Okay.
So there's no like story point or like point where you pass a certain point and all these side quests go invalid.
No, there is a point where you're going to be locked out of stuff for a little while, like until you finish the chapter. But yeah, never a sort of like hard out.
It's good to know. I'm still extremely early in that game. I'm not sure. Like, there's part of me that wants to mainline it and then go back and dabble in the side stuff later or something like that. But I'm not sure.
I'm just guessing here that even mainlining that game is probably like a 30-hour commitment
it's
or more.
not.
Like,
It's not short for
like,
sure.
I'm like 12 hours in, and I just got Psycho in my party. Who's
Oh,
a
yeah.
party member. Like I just got her, and I did the initial like part-time hero stuff last night.
Oh, I got
So, like,
I wasted way too much time doing the part-time hero stuff.
That's the one system I didn't really interact with that much. But I will say, if you've unlocked that, go talk to the guy in the headquarters, and he'll give you a side quest for finding his cats. That's really worth doing.
All right.
Cool.
That game's also really good about like procedurally dropping more shit in the city. Like, I don't know, Brad, have you gotten to the point where you can find Tojo clan emblems?
Oh,
Yeah, so like eventually after a certain chapter, it's like, hey, there's a new thing you can find around the city, and you go talk to this. I don't want to spoil who it is, but you go talk to somebody, and they're like, I'm a Yakuza enthusiast. I want you to find these little emblems that are spread throughout the city. So next time you're running around, like going to certain shops, you'll see a little shiny thing in the corner. They really kind of like incentivize you to not just fast travel everywhere. With some pretty interesting stuff there towards the
Do you
end.
ever feel like you're overwhelmed with that stuff? Like, is there too much to do?
Oh,
it's kind
all
of
the
getting
time.
to that point for me.
Really?
Yeah, like I'm now when I look at the map, there are icons for sub stories all the fuck over the place, and like there's all like these mini games that I keep getting sucked into. Like I did the classic movie theater thing with the rim rams,
Oh yeah.
doing like basically like playing a rhythm game to fight off
Yeah.
like rams in suits that are trying to make you fall
hated
asleep.
that.
Because you're watching a boring movie and you don't want to fall asleep because the guy who owns the theater gave such an impassioned speech about why he loves movies.
How much he loves classic movies. And like I kept doing that mini game and I don't even know why. I don't even know what you get out of it, but I just like keep doing stuff in that game. I don't know.
That's pretty rad.
It's a very strange game.
Yeah.
But it does have that core of like I did the dungeon with the Seiryu clan HQ where you meet the old fashioned Yakuza chief like boss guy at the end, and it's like, and they swerve right back into that solemn like everything's about honor and duty and dignity and like loyalty to the clan and all that stuff, you know, like they go in and out of being stupid as fuck and then like super serious all the time,
and then you hop out of that quest and you're at the sex shop and you buy a giant vibrator for Kasuga.
Totally.
The giant vibrator causes enemies to be stunned occasionally.
I bought that thing. That's the best purchase I have made to date.
Wow.
I just found myself at one point, I was going through the stats and I was just like, okay, well, this police baton has +2 to defense, but this vibrator's got +5 on magic. And it's just like, what the fuck just came out of my mouth?
One of my problems with the game, though, is when you're crossing the street, you will still get hit by a car. And that's happened to me multiple times because I thought I'd be safe.
Look both ways, man.
Dude, I'm a Yakuza on a mission. I gotta go buy this sandwich for this guy. But then, like, when you're fighting and like your fight winds up like weaseling its way over into the street, the cars stop just because a bunch of dudes are fighting. They should just keep going.
I mean, if you saw a fight in the street, you might at least slow down to watch and go like, "Look at these guys! They're fucking fighting."
I'd probably
honk my horn
and go,
like kick a guy into the street with a move and then he gets hit by a car.
Yes, there's an achievement for that.
What?
Oh, nice.
Oh, it's pretty good.
It's pretty good.
Brad, you play anything else?
Yeah, so I've been playing Ori. I went back and restarted that from when I played a few hours of it back in March. Actually, I want to bellyache for a minute. My honeymoon phase with the quick resume on the Xbox has finally ended as of last night.
Oh,
I've been bouncing between Yakuza and Ori for like a week and a half, and it's been great. And I suspended Yakuza Sunday night at like close to the end of a long dungeon, and it's like JRPG rules. You can't save anywhere in the dungeon, right? You can only save in the overworld. And I had like an hour into this dungeon, and I suspended it because it's been working great. I fired the Xbox up again last night, and it gets to the dashboard, and I immediately see an updating progress bar on the Yakuza icon, and I was like, motherfucker. It finishes patching the game, and I launch it, and sure enough, it just fucking mercilessly terminated my session.
No.
And I had to start that whole dungeon over again. I was so fucking pissed. Like, that makes me want to basically never suspend that game again, unfortunately.
I think we're just at a point now where, I mean, and phone games did this and portable games did this because they realized like that, you know, sometimes people have to stop a game in a hurry or something, but like games probably shouldn't have save restrictions or whatever. They should all have like, hey, just here's an instant save of where you are, like almost like a save state type of thing. Even if it's a save that automatically gets wiped when you relaunch the game to try to prevent you from cheating or something, because they want to have some restriction around it. But we probably need something more than that, because you losing progress, like you don't know when they're going to patch a game. Like that's like, on one hand, I'm like, well, yeah, of course, if a game takes a patch, of course it's going to close down to patch. But on the other hand, how are you supposed to know that? Yeah, exactly. Or
you know, prevent their system. Like they built a system and pushed a feature as a core part of this feature set on this console that you can suspend all these games and like jump right back in whenever. It's like, why did you not think to prevent games from patching themselves when they're running, you know?
Yeah.
Or something that's going to save it. And maybe there has to be some way to just kind of instantly save your progress in a non-destructive way.
Yeah. I was so
like I said,
mad.
like, you know, this is something that like phone games figured out and all this other stuff. Like you need to be able to be like, oh, my phone rang. Oh, there's someone at the door. Oh, I need to like games just need to account for real life, in a better way when it comes to that stuff. And quick resume seemed like maybe it was going to go in that direction, but like hearing you say that, I'm like, yeah, okay. I guess I was right to not ever trust that feature.
I mean, I basically choose to approach these things from an indignant perspective of this thing should fucking work, and I'm going to like push it to its limits until it doesn't. You know what I mean?
Totally. Yep. Yeah. No, that thing should fucking work. Like that's
I refuse to not engage with the functionality they built just because they built it poorly. Like I want to fucking see it do its job.
Oh, and they highly touted it as well.
Right.
That was a big bullet point.
Yeah, it's a bummer. But anyway, also it terminated my Ori session at the same time, so I don't know what the fuck was going on there. But
son of a bitch.
I'm deeper into Ori now than I was back when I played it in March because I started over. But like that game seems pretty great.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you get to the sand. You get to the sand part.
No, so I just finished the mill.
Swim through the ground, right?
It's like a mechanic so cool. I want an entire game based around.
It
feels really good.
And like I've heard about the light and dark stuff too. Like it sounds like there's a lot of interesting stuff they do in that game. I was a little bummed to find that they do the escape sequence stuff again from the first game.
Yeah,
easily my least favorite part of that game. I don't know.
Yeah, I remember them I read an interview with the team around when the game came out. Specifically, they got asked about that, like if that was going to be back. I think it was before the game came out. They were asked if that was going to be back, and they said like, we wanted to, we stand by it. We know a lot of people didn't like that, but we wanted to fine tune it so it's a little less hard to fail. And I feel like they kind of succeeded, but there was one in particular that I failed probably a dozen times, which is a big momentum killer.
Totally, that's the problem to me. Is like I don't mind doing a hard sequence over and over until I get it right. It's just that they dress it up in this like really cinematic, like propulsive manner. It's just like this fucking giant monster is chasing you, and it's super cinematic, and it looks incredible, and the music is swelling, and it's like so exciting. And then you miss a jump, you have to do the whole thing over again, and then you fuck it up 3 more times. And it's like, all right, now I've heard this music loop 5 times, and it's not exciting anymore. And I wish that you had just made this easy so I could see it play out and be impressed by it.
You kind of have to make that. Yeah, I feel like there were some. I'm trying to think if I ever had any, like all those Halo games that end with "You are driving the Warthog and you've got to get away."
Yep, exactly that.
Like that whole thing of like, this is an amazing moment if I'm only doing it once, or totally. Like is the end of Mario Odyssey one of those?
Yeah.
There's a part late in Mario Odyssey that is like that. I think I died like twice or something. It was like just enough to where it was just like, all right, I don't care about what you're trying to do here anymore because now I'm just getting these motions down. Like you kind of maybe need to pick whether you want the cool cinematic thing or you want to make a gameplay thing.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
I was a little bummed to see they went back to that well again, but just the stuff they do with evolving the environment in that game, like you start out in a swamp and there's like it's poisoned, like all the water is like this gross looking purple and there's this like miasma hanging over everything, and then you finish you finish the windmill and it sort of like magically purges the swamp and the waters are fresh again and whatever, and like just the shift in like the look of that area from like nasty purple to like this really nice pristine like kind of aquamarine teal sort of color palette, like it's just like I think it's one of the best looking 2D games I've ever played. Like it is really incredible what they did with the visuals in that thing.
I've been watching a lot of Miyazaki movies lately. We've been going through the catalog, and like the way he has a reverence for nature, I feel like this game kind of taps into that same thing of just it's something sacred. Like, it's not a you're not like fighting eco-terrorists or anything, but it is a game that's like about its environment as much as it is its characters. Like these characters are guardians of the forest or whatever, and so the forest itself has to be interesting and visually stunning, and they nailed it.
Yep. It's impressive stuff.
Fuck that frog boss.
I
wish. Wait.
Have you fought the frog boss?
I don't know.
You would remember.
No. I definitely haven't fought one, but my objective is to go see a giant frog right now, and I don't know if it's the same frog. Oh man,
it's the only time in the game
not Kolok. Really?
Because it's like a water-based fight, and you can't heal while underwater. And it was it almost made me quit the game, just straight up.
I choose to believe it's a different frog that I'm going to fight because it can't be him. But
it'll have to be.
There might be 2 frogs.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. I haven't really played much in the terms of new stuff other than I started playing around with Amazon Luna last week, which is Amazon's streaming service.
Yeah.
And I got the controller in not that long before this recording here.
Oh, wow.
And so, obviously, because you can just play it with whatever controller on a PC and all that. And so this is their streaming service. It's a subscription-based thing for like $6 a month. You get access to a pile of games. And then if you're a Ubisoft, what is it? Ubisoft Plus is what they call it now, I think. They ditched all the Uplay branding around everything. So if you're paying for their monthly service, either through Ubisoft or you can sign up through Amazon, you get access to that catalog of games on Luna as well. And
oh wait, is this? Are you saying you pay them one fee and you can both download the games to play them and play them on Luna?
You cannot.
Just a Luna thing.
If you are an existing Ubisoft subscriber, meaning you are able to download the games and play them on their client, then you can tie that account into Luna and use it there as well. Yes,
that's what I meant. That's kind of cool.
So yeah, so that would be a case where you could do both. I don't know if it works the other way, because I don't know if you sign up on the Luna end, I don't know if it goes back and works on the other client. It might, or it might not. I don't know, because I did not sign up for the Ubisoft stuff. I just signed up for their kind of $6 thing, and it's a decent list of games. It's nothing that's like brand new per se. It's like Control is in there and Res Infinite is in there and all that. I will say this controller sucks. Well, so it does I need to spend some more time with it on the latency front, because it is the like, hey, this is a Wi-Fi device that skips a hop and gets to the server a little faster than a wired controller in theory. But it feels like the most generic ass $20, hey, we want to sell you a controller to hook up to your Android device type of bullshit.
Oh,
so
yeah.
I like on it feels bad. It just, ugh.
I like the little purple accents on there. I thought it looked nice, but that sucks if it.
It just every D-pad, every button, the trigger, everything about it just feels cheap and gross. But because it's a Wi-Fi device, it's still like $60 or whatever. So most of my time.
Most important question: what kind of port is on there?
It's USB-C.
Is it C?
Okay. That looks like C to me. Hang on.
Round.
Yes, but it's got weird prongs in it. Yeah, no, it's C.
Okay,
I see.
They're just looking in the hole. There were some weird prongs there that I'm not used to seeing in a USB-C port. Anyway, it feels bad. It feels like it's not a third party. It's like a fourth party controller. So it feels terrible. Anyway, so most of my time with it has been with using an Xbox controller wired up to a PC. And so I can only speak to the latency on that. But I was playing Res Infinite. I mentioned this on the hotspot on Friday, but it was like Res Infinite vibrates in time to the music. But because of the latency, it was vibrating like one step behind the music. And it was a weird effect. It was bad. But other than that, hey, it looked fine. You see the same video artifacting that you see in Stadia and stuff like that. Like it seemed on par with those sorts of experiences. But with a fixed catalog of some older games and all that.
When this got announced, some people made a little bit of a fuss about this running Windows games as opposed to the Linux games on Stadia. Like, do you see any sign whatsoever of that difference? Like, I assume you can't tell.
No, I think the main idea would be that it's easier to port your game over and get it running.
I just meant on the user-facing side. I didn't know if that was apparent at all or not.
So I think the only thing I could think of that might make that apparent, and this is just speculation on my part, but is that Res, like I bet if you set out to make Res feel like it was in sync on a cloud device, you could have the vibration, like you could sync that up no matter what. You could account for that latency. You could measure the latency and set the vibration to be in time with the music based on what your latency measurement is. This doesn't feel like it's doing any of that. So maybe that's a case where like, hey, it's the Windows version. You can just get it up and running. And also it has a warning up front, the same warning that the other version has, where it says like, hey, in VR, it's going to be like this, but like, the Luna version doesn't have VR support. So maybe it's a case where like, hey, they just tossed a Windows version up there and it worked. And so maybe that's a case where you could look at and say like, this is the difference. But, definitely Res seems like a case where if they did some more work to it, it could be a slightly better experience, but that's cloud gaming is such a weird thing, streaming, the latency and all that is such a your mileage may vary sort of situation that it's hard to say. The lineup doesn't seem amazing, but I think I still something about the nature of subscribing to a service and playing the games feels better to me than the Stadia model of buy these games and you can only play them on our streaming service. Like that,
Right.
that doesn't feel great. But at the same time, Stadia gets newer games because they're selling them, whereas this is more like a esque sort of thing. And so it's a little different there. So
I guess
I'm curious to see how that all shakes out. But
it's almost like a backhanded compliment to Luna, but it does get around the kind of fear of digital ownership stuff with Stadia. Because
right,
if you stop paying for Luna, you're losing access to the games anyway. So if they shut it down, then like it's kind of the same thing, right? Versus
exactly.
Like, if Stadia goes away, then those games no longer exist in any form. So
yes, yeah, and I think it's weird. So like the Ubisoft stuff, like there are games there are PC versions of games of Ubisoft games that I own, Watch Dogs and stuff like that are on the Luna service. But if I link my account, it doesn't say like, oh, you're able to play Watch Dogs and this because you already own them. It's like you're either in on the monthly thing or you're not. And so that's the only way to play it. And that feels a little weird. Like I almost feel like, hey, people that paid full price for these games should be able to play them on Luna if they so choose. But or maybe that's part of a separate fee or a lesser fee. I don't know. It's all still so new. I'm sure all the monetization stuff is still really strange and hard to figure out. But something about that felt off to me. But yeah, I don't know. That's kind of the only like newish thing I've been messing around with, been fiddling with games here and there as we kind of lock down our top 10 lists for game of the year and all that sort of stuff. So
I got a couple things for show and tell real quick.
Yeah, we got.
Hey. Sexy metal case. I got it from Mr. Add-ons. I had to get a pre-configured one.
Okay.
Yeah, I got the pre-built, so I didn't have to worry about any of that. So that's great. But I also wanted to show off this Junk Food Arcades Micro. This is a little hitbox.
Wow.
Look at this little guy. This is an arcade stick, essentially. So this is like left, that's down, that's right, that's up, actually. And then the rest of these guys right here. They light up all nice and pretty, but
that's interesting.
This thing fucking rad. It's
got
so
a good
small.
click to them.
Yeah.
Oh, that is really small.
It's really thin. It's very, very tiny. I don't have a switch to show you, but here's my head.
Okay. Yeah. No, I get it.
Size. Yeah.
Got cool LEDs and shit. But
how are you liking the whole like hitbox thing? Especially like not knowing which button was which. You saying that the thumb button was up totally just broke my brain right there.
Yeah, I'm having a hard time getting used to that. But what I'm not having a hard time getting used to is doing like quarter circle motions and like uppercuts and stuff. Execution feels really good.
Instant air dashing, right? Like that's one of the big things that people always
air dashing. Yeah, that works really well. But yeah, I'm still getting used to the pressing something to jump. I never got used to that in Smash, I guess. So, or in any other platform fighters.
Where's it from again, Jason?
This is from Junk Food Arcades or Junk Food Customs.
Oh man,
look for Junk Food Arcades or something like that. You'll find them.
I'm bad at fighting games, but maybe I won't be with a hitbox.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you spend money, you get better. That's exactly how everything works.
But I mean, in a way, that kind of is how it works because you're like, well, I fucking bought the thing. I might as well practice a little bit more.
Spend time on it. Yeah.
Time is money, man. This all works. This all works.
It all works. That's what I brought for show and tell.
Great. I have my aluminum Mr. case around here somewhere, but
what color
I have
did you
not.
get?
I got the other color. I got the black
one,
the dark one. Yeah, it looks pretty.
So
neat,
that thing was totally pre-built when you got it, Jason.
Yeah, pre-built. But I had to take it apart, and I lost a screw when I was putting in the SD card after I put some stuff on there.
Did it fall in?
Yeah, it fell in, and I lost a screw. But everything's fine now. I got all my ROMs on there. And everything's working great.
I have not put my case my new case on yet. I just haven't had time to
I was wondering
do
how
it. It doesn't seem like
complicated that is.
Well, so I think the only thing that'll
like
be
a big pain in the ass because there's a lot of like columns in there that you've got to line up
the light pipes or whatever.
for the big screws.
Okay.
Like on the bottom here, these screws actually go in quite a ways, and there's a couple posts in here that you've got to line up to get that screw through. It's kind of tough. I had to do that with two of them here. So I'm glad I got it configured.
So I think I need to take mine apart and then yank the heat sink off of the FPGA and clean it because it needs it comes with a new thermal pad that you put on there and then press the top of the case presses against it to passively cool it.
Yeah, because the whole case is a heat sink.
Yeah, so I need to kind of, I guess, clean the chip up after I need to very carefully take that heat sink off without also breaking it or something. So, I've not had the guts to do that just yet, but I just need to set aside some time, make it happen. Speaking of set aside some time, we're going to take a quick break here and come back with the news. So hang tight, everybody. We'll be back in a minute. All right, we're back, and now it is time to talk about the news.
News, it's time to talk.
News. Breaking news at this hour. CES is happening, whatever that means now.
That's where Backlar is.
Yeah, he's in Las Vegas.
All by himself,
right.
Going, where is everybody?
Yeah.
I'm sure there's still a bunch of people in Vegas that shouldn't be in Vegas, though.
Right. Yeah.
EVM is still going on, strangely enough.
Oh.
I don't actually.
Well, listen, if you haven't got
No,
anything yet.
I was going to say they're used to spreading things around at the AVNs, but that's not necessarily. That's harsh. That's not. Google Stadia. We were talking about the cloud stuff earlier. GeForce Now also are scheduled to be coming to LG TVs in 2021. That's this year.
Yes.
That's this year.
Oh,
I keep having to remind myself of that, but yes.
I was like, the far-flung future. Oh, wait, no, that's LG has announced that they will be bringing the streaming services to their TV lineup in the second half of the year.
Like that's the move, right? Like
totally,
that's them closing the loop. It's just getting it on the thing that you buy to play games on anyway, without any additional hardware except a controller, which most people have at this point.
Yeah, or and if they have a controller that is then, well, I guess that then leads to that's why they want to do these Wi-Fi style controllers, is because then that doesn't have to connect to the TV. They don't have to build that into like a software of the television or any other stuff. It just operates independently of the display device. So this will be coming to the 2021 models of LG's TVs, but will also be patched in to the 2020 models running WebOS 5.0 later this year, according to The Verge. That's the whole point, right? Is they eventually get to a point where this stuff is just in every device you already have. And it's like the big stumbling block right now seems like everyone's trying to do mobile devices, and Apple is being Apple about it to prevent that from happening. Though Luna works on iPhone right now because it works in Safari. It works in the browser. So they already have their browser-based solution ready, whereas I think Stadia is either testing that or it is coming. And then
xCloud doing the same thing.
As much. Yeah, definitely.
I don't have a good sense of how much of a stumbling block that actually is for the average person. Like to not be able to go download an app, to have to do it in a browser. Like, does that stop anybody, or does that confuse people in the mass audience?
I think for me, it's a situation where sometimes like your login doesn't stay between browser sessions. It expires, where like apps are usually better about just like, hey, you're logged into your account and you're done. So if I'm like, I'm going to play a game real quick, and then it's like, now I got to type in my Microsoft, or I got to, get my Microsoft credentials in there and then pass 2-factor, and then I can do it. Then it's still that ain't awesome.
Mm-mm.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah, but getting those services on TVs, I feel like is like that's the make or break move, right? It's like if the stuff is going to blow up, that's the last piece of the puzzle, and if it doesn't blow up, there's not much else to do.
I think phones are probably more important these days, right? You probably have more people that because these are still going to be TVs that came out either last year or this year.
Yeah.
It's still such a subset.
Yeah. And you need like the TCLs and Vizios to be on board with this before it's really everywhere, because I think those are still the most popular brands. So it's not everything. It's kind of like LG's like the OLEDs are like the premium brand right now.
Yeah, and the people that are buying those televisions are probably most likely to be like, well, I'm also going to buy a console. I'm also going to buy this. I also have other devices that might integrate this stuff, whether it's a Chromecast or whatever, which they also still have not rolled Stadia out to the full Chromecast lineup, but they said that will be coming sometime this year as well. Yeah. So, yeah.
I guess I'd rather have it in a TV form as opposed to a phone. You know, there's still that stigma of, you know, playing games on a phone. You need to have a clip and everything to use a controller. But if I was to play it on my TV with a nice size controller, I'd feel like I'm playing like a more having a more premium experience, and I might be more inclined to buy games, I think, than if it was on phone. I'm trying to look at it as like, because I think if you're going to jump through those hoops, then why not just have a console also? And because you know what, I don't want to spend that much. I guess I don't want to wait for updates. I don't want to. I've got data caps and stuff. Well, I guess that's still an issue, but there's reasons. There's reasons.
I think I try to when I think about like
I can hide it from my wife better. How about that?
Sure.
There you go.
But like it hides even better if you're on a phone. I think like that's the situation is like you have someone who just like I play 2 games a year and it's Madden and Assassin's Creed and like I can just play those streaming or in theory someday. And then they probably don't care if they're playing it on a phone because they just want to play it however they can or something. But a cheap Android tablet will probably do really well in some of those situations as well. But
totally, we
will see. That's still that's a big step. They definitely need to move in that direction. Machine Games is going to make an Indiana Jones game.
Sure. Yep. What? It's not the most relevant question, but the first thing I thought when I saw this was, what does this mean for the future of Wolfenstein?
Right. Yeah. That's that was also my first thought. I was like, man, I hope they finish out Wolfenstein as a proper trilogy because I would like to see that thing wrap up.
Instantly,
Machine Games came to them and they're like, "We're good at one thing: making video games where you kill Nazis."
True, that's fair.
Do you have anything for us?
They have demonstrated an aptitude in that category.
But like, is the coolest thing they could do here to actually make an Indiana Jones game that is also the third game in the Wolfenstein trilogy?
Let's do it.
Okay. Where you've got Indiana Jones and BJ Blazkowicz side by side, whipping and shooting Nazis or.
See, I don't think you can because Wolfenstein has gone. I don't want Indiana Jones messed up with like future tech at all, like Nazi magic.
Oh no, he's still gonna have his like regular ass whip.
BJ Blazkowicz literally had his head imposed on a super soldier's body. I think that's too fantastical for what you. I mean, Indiana Jones. Yeah, it's really good.
The Ark of the Covenant really good at a whip. Fucking like that. That Nazi's face like melted off. That's not grounded
of the movie. You know, they saved that for like, whoa.
Y'all see that shot of Todd Howard in his study going around this morning from like some stream he did a couple months ago, where he straight up got the fucking Ark of the Covenant and like the little gold figure from the beginning of Raiders of the Lost Ark on the shelves behind him.
Is that just the thing now? If you're a Microsoft person, you've got your next projects on the shelf behind you.
Yes. So nobody can ever do that again now. Like, I think this is officially it. Nobody can ever do that again now because the first thing everybody's going to do now is look at the shelves behind the speaker.
Right. Yeah. Right. Yeah. So that's cool. I don't know. Like Indiana Jones has been in a lot of video games over the years, and I feel like like Fate of Atlantis was awesome, but I'm trying to think like action game Indiana Jones. Like, has there been?
No.
I mean, I guess everything just took what Indiana Jones did and said like, well, now you're a lady with 2 guns, or now you're Nathan Drake, or you know, like whatever spin they want to do on it.
Man, I hope this isn't just an Uncharted knockoff. Like, I don't know what I
feel
want
like
it
if
to
it,
be, but I know what I don't want it to be, which is just Uncharted, but it, you know, the thing that inspired Uncharted.
Something about, I mean, you know, Machine Games traditionally makes first-person video games, so I wonder if that's what they're doing. Would they do something like? Would they make a first-person Indiana Jones game? That would be right there. Would make it pretty different from, you know, from past from Uncharted or any of that other stuff. But first-person whipping would be funny.
Yeah, that'd be pretty cool.
Mm.
What about
it also
first-person
acknowledges that-
whipping?
You know, like he doesn't really use the whip that much. It's more of a gun man when it comes down to it.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
What are the best video game whips? I guess Castlevania.
Yeah.
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 But like I'm trying to think of like any sort of first person whipping. I guess Samus has the like grapple beam in Prime.
Does the gravity gun count?
I just can't think of any like offensive whipping in first person.
Because
to me, the whip is such a 2D weapon.
Did that PS2 era Indiana Jones game ever actually come out? You remember that they were showing off like the Euphoria physics in as like this big tech demo? Yeah, I don't think that ever actually became a game, right? But that would have been some weird physicsy whipping shit.
Yeah. Whips are weird. Like when you break it down, whips are strange devices. Like it's hard to get the range. Like getting the range on a whip is
yeah, you got to have
easy.
it perfect so you get that crack. And you know, if they're too close, it's just going to wrap around them. You don't want that, because then they're just going to pull you in and kill you.
Well, I mean, if you wrap it around them and pull them in and then uppercut them on into some spikes, what if it was something like that?
Okay, I don't have the upper body strength to do that.
Well, indie might.
Guns are not for whipping.
All right. Or you know, could you? You know, do you have to spend like 3 idle points on your skill tree to get the ability to wrap a whip around a guy's neck and just yank his head off or something? Is that a, you know, what are we doing with whips? That's the question I'm always asking. I'm walking into the party and I'm asking, what are we doing with whips?
Oh, I think you know. You just can't say it here.
Yes, never ask a question that you don't already know the answer to. That's the true secret. Kind of in conjunction with this, or I guess like kind of the day before this, Disney went ahead and announced Lucasfilm Games, as the new label for games, I guess, that are affiliated with Lucas properties as opposed to Disney ones. Also,
yeah, I guess like worth mentioning this Indiana Jones game, not an EA project. Like they've got Star Wars locked up, but not. You know,
Also, is it going to be a new Indiana Jones? Do we think it's going to be Harrison Ford likeness? Like because they tried to pass the torch with Mutt, but nobody was having that.
Shia LaBeouf is not at the apex of his career at the moment. Let's say
no,
but he will be when this game comes out, and he is the voice.
Put out some good movies.
He's also a huge piece of shit.
Okay, okay.
Yeah. So it's Lucasfilm Games. It's you know, they went ahead and found a way to name it something that's not LucasArts.
I like that. Yeah, it's just my first question is: should they have just called this LucasArts? Or is that like a disservice to the legacy of LucasArts? Because this is basically really just kind of like a licensing imprint, right?
Right.
Sure.
It's not like this is not a studio. Like they're not starting you know, like the StarWars.com article about Lucasfilm Games here says Lucasfilm Games begins a new era. New social channels is like the first thing in the subhead. A sizzle reel and more. Herald the bright future of Lucasfilm Games. Like they're advertising, here's a Twitter for you to follow, not here's who we've hired to make games. So, you know, they're still Disney still does not want to get its own hands dirty making video games because, God forbid.
This is still mildly encouraging to me because like the last couple of Star Wars games have been kind of okay. Like Star Wars Squadrons was better than I expected, and like Jedi Fallen Order, the Respawn game, like it had its issues, but like there was definitely something there. You know, like
speaking of which, they just issued their patch. They issued a patch that improves performance on new consoles.
Yeah, I saw that.
Bringing frame rates and resolutions up, which is kind of cool. I installed that game on PS5 back when we first got PlayStation 5s in hand, and I messed with it a little bit. And I was like, this doesn't look so. That's cool. But yeah, you're right. They've done. They've started to do a little bit better with the Star Wars license, and now they've got this Indiana Jones game, executive produced by Todd Howard.
Yeah,
but developed by Machine Games.
Is this Todd Howard moving into his post multi-billion-dollar acquisition, like elder statesman at Bethesda role of just
maybe?
Like,
yeah, I mean,
that was everything we're doing now and just kind of hang out.
That was kind of my first thought, is that maybe he's got a new role over there at that level that kind of oversees everything that all the studios are doing or something. But I don't know. I mean, that deal hasn't closed yet, right? Like the Microsoft deal hasn't necessarily finalized.
I think last time I saw an executive at Microsoft talk about it, they were even still couching it in that language of like, yeah, we're confident once the deal closes that this and this will happen, stuff like that.
Right. And so then that brings up the, I mean, this is probably exclusive to Microsoft consoles, I would think.
The phrase Xbox exclusive is trending on Twitter right now, so that is definitely hotly debated at the moment.
Yeah. I mean, the only reason you don't do that is because the license holder won't let you, right? Like that's, right. If you're like, oh, well, we want our Indiana Jones game to be on all platforms so that it can make the most money.
Right.
But presumably, I mean,
Spider-Man,
that's ironed out. Otherwise, they wouldn't have made the announcement, right? So, yeah, but yeah, Spider-Man, you're right. That's
PlayStation only, so it seems like they're open to doing that kind of thing.
Right, that is them. That is one of the 4 companies that owns IP in the world today, isn't it?
Yes. If it is an entertainment property, there's a 25% chance that Disney owns it.
Gross.
Yeah.
Gross. I feel gross now.
Or more? Like since they bought Fox, like what is left?
Yeah, I don't know. We've got to everyone needs to go out and start some new intellectual property and then not sell it to Disney or sell it to Disney.
Or sell it to Disney.
Or sell it to Disney. It's all our duties to go out and make new intellectual property that is not owned by one of the 3 companies that owns all the IP.
Nationalize Disney.
Yeah, exactly. Square Enix trademarked some stuff. That potentially points to more Final Fantasy. Hey, Square might be doing some more Final Fantasy stuff, but I guess specifically this is stuff that is maybe a little more in the 7 universe here. But some of this seems like a reach, or one piece of this puzzle seems like a reach from Gamatsu here, who wrote about it.
Name of the treasure.
Is it the Ever Crisis part?
Ever Crisis, which so they trademarked 3 things: Ever Crisis, the First Soldier, and the Shinra logo. Which I'm glad to see Square getting back into streaming. Shinra was an idea ahead of its time, and now clearly it's time to bring back Shinra.
I believe I have the business
still have James Milky on the front phone.
Yes, I was gonna say I believe I still have the business card of someone who worked for Shinra Technologies.
Yes. So Ever Crisis shares a similar name to the 2004 mobile game Before Crisis, Final Fantasy VII, and Crisis Core, of course.
So, I don't know how much you want to go down this rabbit hole.
Go ahead.
I saw it going around on Twitter.
Let's sell me on it.
Advent Children.
Okay.
Before Crisis, Crisis Core, Dirge of Cerberus, Ever Crisis.
You're saying it's a compilation of all the Final Fantasy VII related material?
Oh, the initials of all those games. It is AC through now EC, like going in order.
Oh.
And they are all Final Fantasy VII related projects. So, maybe?
No, that that seems like, unless someone at Square has personally acknowledged, yes, this was something we were doing with the lettering on these things, that is people.
It would be very easy to
fucking-
retroactively do that. Like it'd be very easy to look at those projects over time now and say like, okay, let's just keep it going.
Yeah, we
Like,
meant to
so-
do that the entire time.
Yeah, exactly.
Crisis-
Undertaker's undefeated.
I don't know, like the frequency of the term crisis showing up in all the Final Fantasy VII shit seems pretty conspicuous to me. But-
Sure.
Yeah,
I mean,
so
I mean, that's probably what
without-
it is, because like, why wouldn't they? But also, like,
That's
well-
that's the bigger thing to me is like Final Fantasy VII Remake was fucking huge, so of course they are doubling down on a bunch of Final Fantasy VII related stuff.
Listen, there is a reason related to Final Fantasy VII Remake why Crisis Core is important and why they need to fold that in. The end of Final Fantasy VII Remake takes major stuff. I had to learn all this through a fucking wiki because I didn't play original Final Fantasy VII and original Crisis Core, and when certain characters show up in the last hour of that game and I'm like, who the fuck is this guy? And I have to go to a Wikipedia to read it. It all became clear that they are suddenly going to tie in all of those other games into the remakes.
Yeah. And then the first soldier could potentially be a Sephiroth reference, and then Shinra is obviously Shinra. So,
Or is it?
oh shit!
Where's my Dr. Hojo spin-off game? That's what I'm looking for. Biggest creep
Match
in
3.
the world.
Yeah, I mean,
Dr. Hojo's Candy Crush.
the big thing for me is it just seems very corporate to realize that they struck gold with that remake and just be like, all right, we got to keep this thing going. Let's just start greenlighting, adjacent projects left and right.
Yeah, totally. But also, like, they've got to finish the actual remake. So, like, the idea that
Well,
like they're
Why
gonna.
not both?
Well, but also finishing the remake means something different now than it maybe did before that game came out. So maybe those are the next chapters in the Final Fantasy.
Kind of what I expect there to be something called Final Fantasy VII Remake Part 2 or whatever, probably some crazier subtitle to that, but also these side games that directly tie into that.
Oh no, we're going
canon.
through the Kingdom Hearts model.
Jan, it's Nomura. You know he's got to do it to us.
Yeah, but I really like the 7 remake.
Hey, a
Well,
lot of
so-
people really like Kingdom Hearts.
I do that. too.
But they're not. They don't count. They're monsters. They're bad people. Or do you end up in a situation where like you can't just call this, like, it would be boring to call this game Final Fantasy Remake Part 2, and also it would
these
be,
are
or
subtitles.
yeah, 7R2. So maybe you end up with like Final Fantasy 7 : Ever Crisis and
Shinra
Final
logo.
Fantasy 7 : The First Soldier.
Right.
Yes, and then then your power company management game, Final Fantasy 7 : Shinra Electric
Ooh.
Power Company, like a Factorio, but
It's just
but you're Shinra.
yes, SimCity Midgar edition.
Yeah.
Sim Midgar.
Why not?
Simgar? I don't know.
Okay. All right, let's go with that. Pragmata.
Uh-huh.
It's a Capcom game.
It's that astronaut game.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
Remember
The
that?
game with that. The game that looked like
That we kind of thought was like maybe Death Stranding 2 for a second.
yeah, I was gonna say a game that looked like a Kojima knockoff video game, like
Right.
the same way that in the wake of Metal Gear Solid, you saw a lot of PlayStation 2 games that were like, oh, I see, you're kind of trying to evoke a Kojima-esque style to this. Pragmata,
First time-
Capcom's Pragmata.
First time they showed that footage on that stream, I was just waiting for the character in the suit to turn just right so you could see that there was a skull inside the astronaut suit.
Yeah, right. I remember that. Okay.
And then the little girl, and then the net in space, and all this other stuff. Anyway, so during whatever we're calling CES, Sony did have an event. There was not a lot of new information there per se, but they did show a quick trailer and said that Pragmata would be out in 2023,
Whoa. Dang.
which is a long ways away. But then also the game was originally scheduled for launch in 2022, which that sounds like a far-flung future as well. So I don't know.
That's next. God, that's next year. Jesus.
That's next year, 2022. Next year. Right?
I was at a very profound existential moment this morning when somebody pointed out that 4 years ago was the big Switch unveil today.
Oh,
The Nintendo
Really?
Switch is almost 4 years old, is what I'm trying to say.
Oh, they got to come out with a new one of those then.
Handful of weeks. I think it'll be 4
Yeah.
years old. That's terrifying. But yeah, I don't know what to make of this because, like, when did Sony get in the habit of putting a bunch of fine print at the end of their trailers with a bunch of release date information in it? Like, I almost wonder if that's like a nod to investors or something. I don't know.
Yeah,
Like,
or I mean, like as the climate of pre-release information about games gets harsher and shittier, that maybe they need to kind of just try to be a little specific about some of that stuff. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, part of the reason this is a story is there's some other information in there about other games. Specifically, the new Ratchet and Clank in there is now just listed as a 2021 game, when previously I think they had implied it would be like first half of the year.
Right.
So I wonder if that's slipping to like a holiday kind of time frame or something.
Yeah. Yeah. Ghostwire Tokyo on for October. And some other stuff like that. Yeah. So that's you know, some more dates than we knew, but like there's something about the idea of like we delayed this 2022 game into 2023, and I'm just like, all right, you're just making up numbers now. Like none of that sounds like a real thing. Don't talk to me.
Yeah.
But yeah. Also in other Sony news, they have shut down Killzone.com.
no.
And
No.
they've got a message. They've got a message on the Killzone.com front page. Dear Killzone.com visitor,
That's
the
me.
official website for the
It gets
Killzone
better.
franchise has retired.
Oh,
Going forward, visitors to Killzone.com will be directed to PlayStation.com. While this change doesn't affect the
That's not
multiplayer modes, player stats and ranking data for Killzone Mercenary and Killzone Shadowfall, it is no longer possible to create or manage clans in Killzone Shadowfall. We apologize for this inconvenience. Thank you to Killzone.com's many fans and visitors throughout the years for their enthusiasm and support.
Oh, that's my favorite part. Thank you to Killzone.com's many fans. Huge
Yeah.
fan of Killzone.com, man. I used to go to that
But
site.
the game's like fucking
3-4
whatever.
times
Killzone.com? Shit.
The
I don't know,
entertainment
like-
is unknown at Killzone.com.
Like, this message does kind of read to me like, hey, don't expect anything else from the Killzone franchise anytime soon, if ever. I don't know. You tell me.
Well, I don't know. I mean, you know, like think about the ways you market and show a video game these days. You don't always need a website to do it. Like they had their website for stat tracking and all that other stuff, but those games are only getting older. And so they probably want to like be able to shut down some of those services and just be like, all right, no one is around to maintain Killzone.com and make sure that the clan management stuff doesn't break, or that we haven't like, you know, hey, all these servers are running on old shit that is super vulnerable and no one has time to go through and upgrade them. Like just,
Yeah. We're not going to move shit over to AWS or whatever. Let's just quiet.
Cut it off clean.
yeah. So
Like, I mean,
like,
I could be jumping to a huge conclusion here, but there's some air of finality to the language in this thing that made me wonder, like, I wonder if that's it for Killzone.
right. I don't think you can necessarily guarantee that, but also, yeah. I mean, I don't like, yeah. Do you think that they should make another Killzone? When you think about the legacy of Killzone,
Not
is that,
really.
yeah.
I mean,
I mean, they're not going to have a website for it, so why do it?
That's right.
Well, because
it's a big
you know,
powerhouse thing for the PS3, right? Like, it
Yeah,
was,
like,
I mean, obviously
make
the
it
trail.
too.
There's the infamous like trailer looks way better in an actual game thing, but eventually they got to a place where those games were like really nice looking PS3 games.
those games are not bad for sure. Like Killzone 2 was all right. Killzone 3 maybe a little less so. And the campaigns were drab in a way, but still, that guy Rico, he fucking sucked. They made a lasting character who was a total prick after all this time. So good on them for that. They had their weird combined multiplayer mode that would shift from like deathmatch to VIP escort to point control. Like it would do all this different stuff. That was like kind of a neat idea that I thought that more games would steal. But they kind of didn't. And yeah, I don't know. But honestly, if they were going to make a new Killzone, it would be PlayStation.com/en-us/Killzone. You know, like they wouldn't necessarily need to roll it out as its own domain. So I think regardless of what the future holds for Killzone, like they don't need this website anymore. So
No, it just got me thinking.
but I don't. Yeah, but I don't think they will make a new Killzone anytime soon or ever. Like that thing almost seemed, and it's the way they marketed it, and that's not the fault of the people who actually made those games. It's more of a marketing thing. But like that, when people talk about it's a Halo killer, like that's the game they're talking about. A lot of games over the years tried to be the game that took on Halo and all that other stuff, but I feel like that was the one that was like, oh, Sony's gonna make a first person shooter. They're gonna take on Halo. Suck it, haters, or whatever the hell. And Halo ain't Halo anymore. So, what does that say about a franchise that like owes part of its continued existence to the nature of being like something that was presented as an alternative to Halo? So I don't, in a world
Maybe
where Sony
that's
is
why.
doing content deals with Call of Duty and all this other stuff, like, do they need that? Is that something they want to pursue?
Like, I mean, I'll put it this way. I don't know that I needed another Horizon game, but I will absolutely take another Horizon over another Killzone.
Yeah. I would be interested to see what, because like Killzone's art is good. Like the design of the Hellgast and all that stuff is cool. And it would be neat to see that on a newer, on newer technology. I think you could do some cool stuff with that. But yeah, man, I don't know. I think it only makes sense in terms of like what is Sony's portfolio, and it's a whole lot of third-person action adventure games with a heavy story focus. Like this would another first-person game would be it would be different for them. If it'd be different for their portfolio at least, so it would have that going for it. But I don't necessarily think that they need it. But now that we've talked about this, I'm like, you know what? I could go for some more Killzone, actually.
Yeah, dude.
But
The co-op in Killzone 3 was 3 co-op or 2? I played through that campaign co-op, and it was remarkably fun for as far as like first-person co-op shooters go, which there aren't a ton of.
And that PS4 launch game, that was Shadowfall, right?
Yes.
Like the weird robot bird drone thing or whatever the hell it was. Like that wasn't awesome. It was okay. PS5's still hard to find, and apparently angry mobs are not making that any easier. There was a company called Supers, except the E is a 3, and they were trying to make custom black PlayStation 5s. They had, whether it's a shell replacement or paint or whatever they're doing, they made black controllers and black consoles, and they were going to do a limited edition of those, selling them for a couple $100 more than the. It looks nice. It's a nice looking.
Good.
$749 for a black PS5 with a disc drive, according to Tom's Guide.
So $250 markup, like kind of stiff.
Oh, their inventory like 500.
Yeah, it was a very very limited number, and then they have canceled all orders because I guess the process they were having trouble processing orders and payments due to extreme interest in the product, and that as a part of that they started getting threats to their safety, and that has resulted in them canceling all orders and just pulling out of the whole thing completely, and that maybe they will get back to it when it is deemed safe to do so, which that's ridiculous. On either end, if you take that at face value, that sucks shit. If it's them pulling out of it because their payment processor failed so dramatically that they were like, oh, we're going to get sued if we follow through with this because of how broken it all is, that's also bad.
They also went the extra mile and deleted their Twitter account. Like they're no longer on Twitter anymore. Just completely cut off that avenue for communication.
Some of that stuff seems a little suspect. I mean, you wonder if there's like a haves and have-nots situation here of like, well, this is a way you could pay a whole lot more money to get a PS5 when Most people
but
are
still,
having a hell of a time, but very
still
limited.
less than some of the markup. Like people
sure.
have probably paid $1,000 for a PS5 before, and so that's no good.
How did these
The other
guys
reason I
get a hold of 500 PlayStations?
That's a good question.
Yeah, that's
actually.
the real
Diligence.
question. Yeah, right.
It's-
Especially
also-
ones that they intend to sell for only $250 above markup, so they didn't go pay $1,000 for them or something.
right.
I don't know.
I mostly just want to talk about this because I like. Do you remember the PlayStation 5 stuff back around launch?
Yeah.
They got shut down by Sony legal threats, and like this probably, I assume, would have met a similar fate if they hadn't shut down for this other reason. Like,
Yeah,
it's just
perhaps. But there was another. I think there's a Canadian company that said they were going to do custom plates, and then when asked, "Hey, do you think Sony's going to sue you?" I think their response was, "Fucking come at us, Sony, sue us, come on." So whatever. Someone will eventually sell replacement plates for that thing. It's going to happen.
I want an all black PS5, and I am watching this situation intently.
I don't mind. It's maybe because it's so far back in my entertainment center that I don't see it that often. I want an all flat PS5.
That's
I
the
want
other
to
thing.
get rid of
That'd be
That is the end game. Like, yes, I want a black PS5, but that is the actual end game. Is that those panels come off so easily? Somebody has got to just engineer a new industrial design at some point, right? That makes that thing just sit flat.
Yeah, let me go to Thingiverse and print out something that makes it so that I
That's
don't.
what I really
the
want.
stand on that thing sucks
Oh, it's
so much.
bad.
It's
so bad.
Every time I move that thing, and I have to move it. Granted, most people are going to throw it under their TV and never touch it.
Yeah.
But as someone who has to occasionally swap an HDMI cable on that thing to capture stuff, every time it falls off that fucking stand.
Yeah.
Holy shit.
That's so bad.
That's how I feel about the back of the Switch, the little flap, trying to like
kickstand.
Yeah, no, the back of the dock, that little piece of plastic is falling off
hate
every time I go to pull an HDMI cord.
And that stand, like, there is nothing securing the stand to the PS5. Like it
comes right
a little
off.
bit of friction that just sort of sticks it on there, but it comes right off of there. It's so bad.
Comes right off.
I hate it.
I
hate it so much.
It's a bad. It's a bad.
I've seen this idea floating around in different places. Just make a shell that makes it look like a PS2.
Yeah.
Just make it look like a PS2.
Yeah, I mean, I don't necessarily want that. Yeah, they should do that. I don't know that I'm not out here. I don't need a dramatic redesign, but I would like it to not keep falling off the stand every time I
functionally, I just want to
wind in its direction.
Get the stand out of my life, but yes.
Yeah. A report from Bloomberg. They ran an oral history of Microsoft's Xbox brand, I guess, around its 20th anniversary. Jesus. Holy shit. Yeah, I guess CES 01.
They write about
or something
Usher at all?
No, that's Usher. They wrote about The Rock, who's the original Usher.
Right.
That's right.
Yeah, the Rock was there at CES to chop it up with Bill Gates and do all that stuff. And yeah, they went and they talked to Seamus Blackley. They did all this stuff, but recounted in here is a little tidbit from Kevin Backus, who was the head of third-party relations for Xbox. And he says Ballmer made them go meet with Nintendo to see if Nintendo would be interested in being acquired by Microsoft.
That seems like the most Ballmer thing in history. It's just like, I'm just going to send you
off the street and talk to these guys.
Ballmer is just sending us to go buy Nintendo. Just go do it.
I just picture Ballmer with like holding a full submarine sandwich, not cut in half or anything, just like a full foot long. Just going like, go talk to those fuckers up the street.
I think Ballmer is a Mario guy. Do you think he says it Mario? It's like, I'll talk to the Mario people.
Go talk to the Mario people.
We call them a red Luigi for some reason. Nobody gets it.
Yeah. And so the story from Backus is that Nintendo just fucking basically laughed them out of the meeting. The quote here that Kotaku pulled is, they just laughed their asses off. Like, imagine an hour of somebody just laughing at you. That's kind of how that meeting went.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
Think
and
that
they also met with EA, Midway, Square.
About acquisitions.
Wow.
About acquisitions, yes.
Yeah,
EA declined, and Square felt the offer was too low.
Everybody's got a price.
It's
It just happened to be way too low.
Right. I'm trying to think. This what's the timeline on this? Is this going to be like 99, 2000, 2001, somewhere around there?
later in the story. So there's another tidbit in here about how they also approached Nintendo about working together on hardware before the GameCube came out.
Right.
Basically said like, hey, you guys know games and we know hardware. Why don't we handle the hardware stuff for you? And that obviously didn't come to pass. But yes, this was like Nintendo 64 was still the current console on the market at this time.
Right. Yeah. So yeah, I'm trying to think like in terms of like, because Nintendo's fortunes have swung a little bit. I mean, not that they've ever been on the ropes per se or anything like that, but they've been cash flush super powerhouses and they've had their downtime, whether it was the GameCube or the Wii U or whatever. But yeah, that's I feel like if you had asked at the right time and with the right amount of money, Nintendo seems like a company that could be acquired. But
Sure.
if EA was turning them down and Square felt the offer was too low, then obviously Microsoft was not in a position to spend the kind of money it would take to actually acquire Nintendo.
Yeah.
And so this Bloomberg story has this is not the first time that the idea of Microsoft acquiring Nintendo has been floated, for sure. But yeah, you were talking about the hardware situation earlier. There's just a quote from Howard Lincoln here that says, "Nintendo does not talk about confidential discussions with other companies. In any event, nothing came of these discussions," which is pretty funny. And yeah, I mean, like some of these other ones, like they had a letter of intent to buy Square. Our banker would like to make a statement. Square cannot go through with this deal because the price is too low. Midway was very serious about wanting to be acquired. Surprise, surprise. And then, so the Backus, who again was the head of dev relations, this quote, this Bloomberg bit here. "So we were talking to Midway about acquiring them. They were very serious about wanting to be acquired, but we couldn't figure out how to make it work because we'd immediately get them out of the PlayStation business and we didn't need their sales and marketing group. So that left us with not a lot of value." Which, if you think about it, like that's kind of what they're going through with the ZeniMax stuff to a certain extent, but ZeniMax or Bethesda doesn't necessarily have the legacy on PlayStation that Midway, I guess, probably did then. And if you're buying the Midway stuff and then not putting it on every platform, then you really are cutting the sales. God, I mean, if you think about how the Xbox and PS2 competed, that's not cutting your sales in half. That's cutting them by like a 2/3 or more. Yeah. So like, what are you even getting other than, Tao Feng may have never happened if they had owned Mortal Kombat.
Sure.
Cocteau Chojin maybe wouldn't have come out if Microsoft was pushing Mortal Kombat. But
I don't want to live in a reality where Cocteau Chojin never came out.
Yes, let's thank our stars.
Exactly. Yeah.
I guess this was around the time that Squaresoft, prior to the Enix acquisition, was like they were on the ropes, right? Because of Spirits Within and all that stuff. Like that. This was down.
Okay, so if that was
them.
like that was the year 2000. Looking at some of the timeline on that stuff. So when did Spirits Within come out? Because
it was 2001, I want to say. Yes, 2001. And like the story was that movie basically bankrupted them, right? Like they had to.
They had to do something. Yeah.
So Microsoft's timing had just been a little bit different.
Or they'd come with more money because Square was probably hurting. Like the banker probably had to stand up at that meeting and be like, "Hey, we blew through all that money making that movie, so you got to cover all that stuff too. Because holy shit, we are fucked." They've done okay. It's whatever, man. Square. Remember Square EA? Remember how there was some games. There was like joint venture publishing deal. I want to say that there were some games that came out as Square Electronic Arts in the PS2 era.
Electronic Arts Square KK.
Yeah, Square EA LLC.
Square EA was based in Costa Mesa, California.
Mhm.
Yeah.
What did they put out?
Looking.
EA was putting out.
Lord
Games
of the
that
Rings
So
just-
Two Tower.
was this Square putting EA's games out in Japan, or
Something like
was
that?
this?
Yeah,
Yeah. Okay.
EA
EA Square handled the
Yeah.
Japanese releases of like Quake 3 and some of that
Yes.
other stuff. So
Lord,
yeah.
Lord of the Rings games, stuff like that.
Right. So it was putting that
Completely
stuff
forgot
out.
about that stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. Weird. It's a weird business.
Yeah.
And our final news here, Jonas Neubauer, who was best known as the 7-time winner of the Classic Tetris World Championship, passed away on January 4th at the age of 39.
Very unexpectedly, I guess.
Yeah, it says passed away from a sudden medical emergency.
Yeah.
Dang.
I don't follow competitive Tetris super closely. I don't know if anybody here does, like Ben or somebody, but like
I've
I
watched
was
a bit, but I don't keep up.
I was under the impression he was considered like kind of the best in the world, or pretty damn close to it.
Seems
At
so,
classic
yeah.
Tetris or like kind of modern
Yes.
Classic.
Tetris?
Well, so
Yeah,
they
classic,
when they
like kind
still
of
do
NES
the,
Tetris.
Yeah,
when they
like,
do the
that's- that-
Tetris championships, that's what they play.
They play NES Tetris for the championships. Like that's considered the gold standard.
Really?
That's why Tetris Effect Connected has that mode in it that is like classic Tetris, because it has it runs on NES rules, so like no infinite spin, like no instant drop, hard drop,
Right.
stuff like that. Like
Yeah.
that's how they
Yeah,
do
it looks like. Oh, go ahead.
no, that's it.
I was going to say, as of 2017, he was the 7-time world champion. So yeah, probably fairly good at Tetris.
I think he
Yeah.
was considered up there as the best. I mean, Green Tea, who is a Japanese grandmaster, that's the guy I got to play a few rounds against a couple months ago for the
Yeah.
Mhm.
Tetris Effect preview tour stuff. Like he tweeted, absolutely, he's the greatest ambassador of classic Tetris.
Wow.
So kind of like one of the Tetris figures in the world.
Yeah,
Big.
that's,
Yeah.
that's very young. That's very sad.
That sucks. Jeez.
And with that, let's take a break. We'll come back and get into some of those B mails
Oh boy.
after this. I mean, honestly, the NVIDIA news should have just been, hey, we made more graphics cards and you can buy one now.
Cool.
You
That
know,
would have been huge.
if that had been the news, that would be way bigger than
Everyone in the audience,
30,
look
60.
under your
Yeah.
chairs, and you'll find. Oh wait, there's no audience.
Yeah. Well, I've got a chair though.
Yeah.
That
Squeaky.
was-
3080 under there.
Squeaky.
Yeah. That's how you got yours, right? And let's go on to B mails.
Buzz, 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 buzz. That's right. It's B-mails.
That's the whole song. Okay. Bombcast at giantbomb.com is the address. Ben, you are muted. And
Sorry, I
it's
had
time-
to sing the song. It's a whole thing. I have a different mic that I sing into live for these.
Oh,
for the
yeah.
song.
You keep one auto-tuned and one that way, during the songs you sing into this one. And then when you're like, yo, what's up out there? Like, you don't want that one auto-tuned because people will hear
No.
it and go, that
They'll be
guy's
like,
faking.
That guy's faking it.
Yeah.
All right. First B-mail. Short, sweet, to the point. Subject line. What the world needs. Body. Gauntlet. The world needs a new gauntlet. Thoughts? Love, Tommy from Denver. Can you do Gauntlet in 2021?
It's Diablo. It's called Diablo. And sure.
Yeah.
But
Well, that
no.
means they can
I mean,
96, but
yeah. Well, yeah. No, I think like that's there have been a lot of. So I played some Gauntlet 3 a couple days ago, which is the Lynx game, which was a Lynx game that you had to hold the Lynx sideways and play it. It sucks shit.
wasn't that like a big selling
Oh,
point
that
for the
sounds
Lynx
terrible.
Gauntlet 30? Am I
yeah,
misremembering?
they were
was that
trying
like
to
big
make it
game?
one. Yeah, because you could link 8 Lynxes together with the Comlinks cable and play it. Which I'm like, whoever did that? No one. Like they did Gauntlet over the years off and on, but that they did that last one that was like a downloadable Oh, that was like PS4. That was like last generation, right? That's not that
Trying to pull
old.
it up.
Was it?
Yeah.
Mhm.
That they just kind of made it a
It hasn't
Diablo-ish.
been too terribly long. Yeah.
Right.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah, and
Oh, you mean Gauntlet Slayer Edition?
yeah, well, that was like the updated thing they did. Yeah, but I don't know. I mean, dungeon crawler, like you probably want to put loot in it now, and all the other stuff, and
It's like 6 or 7 currencies.
of course, yeah, exactly. Yeah, you want a battle pass, a Slayer pass, a Valkyrie pass, whatever. Is Marvel's Avengers the new Gauntlet? No.
Oh boy,
I mean,
Gauntlet worked though.
Yeah, I like
They've got
Gauntlet.
Archer, they've got a Barbarian. Yeah.
Yeah.
you got a wizard.
Iron Man.
There's no death though. You don't get potions, and there's no death. So,
True.
the key
Thor
things
gets
you have to
hungry.
have, right? Yeah, I don't. I think you push it in a Diablo-esque direction, and there are already enough of. Hey, remember Torchlight 3?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Right?
that
Like that game.
out?
That game is
1.0?
out. It's out on consoles. It's out. It's not good. So I don't know. There's just a lot of room in a world where, hey, there's going to be a new Diablo sometime. And I heard that phone Diablo is not bad. They put that out into some kind of regional test. And so some people got their hands on some kind of alpha version of that and said, like, hey, you know what? Phone Diablo, not too bad. That game everyone hated and wanted to die. Apparently kind of okay, at least. So I don't know. I feel like that genre of like the Diablo-esque, the action RPG, like there are so many of them now that I don't even think like a Gauntlet wouldn't turn heads.
No, I mean just
There's
the
a
name.
fighting
There's still
game, and I'm
a
listening.
decent amount of name recognition for Gauntlet, but not what it needs.
Yeah, it's still too recent. Like that last Gauntlet is still too recent for them to be like, Gauntlet is back. So, let Warner sit on it for another 5 or 7 years or something, and then they'll do something questionable and mediocre with it.
I played some
They
Gauntlet.
made Golden Axe into a fighting game. They called it Golden Axe the Duel.
Oh.
I think they could do it with
Yeah.
Gauntlet.
Okay.
I played some Gauntlet on the Mister last week.
Yeah.
Which might have been first time I've ever played Gauntlet. Like I just didn't have access to a machine. Like none of the arcades I had access to had a Gauntlet machine. I don't know how well it holds up in 2021.
It's
tough.
Other than
That's-
I think, the voice samples are good,
Sure.
like it's cool. I think the sound is good, but like so that game is a quarter sucker
Order
of the
muncher,
highest order.
Yeah.
It is like you pay for, I think the default coinage is like 1/4 is 700 health. Maybe it's 1400. Anyway, operators can set different levels of health per coin.
Devious.
And that health just ticks down even if you're standing still. So it's this constant like race against the clock of like, well, I've got to get more health. As I'm fighting, I'm invariably losing health because there are more enemies. I'm having to fight my way through the hordes, and I'm occasionally getting hit. Plus, it just ticks down with time. Like it's just my local arcade would sell time for Gauntlet. Like they would have a Saturday. They'd be like, hey, if you want to come give us $20, we'll let you play Gauntlet for 4 hours.
Jesus.
Or whatever. And
I
so
don't know
me
if
and my
time to finish
dad did that a couple of times. Because there's enough time to finish. It doesn't end. Like eventually the mazes start repeating.
Really?
It doesn't actually.
There's no
end.
kill screen.
Not that I know of, maybe, but
Dang,
but
we
it just
bet you
kinda-
about
it just eventually-
microtransactions today. Shit.
yeah, no, Gauntlet is a nasty, nasty video game for that stuff.
Oh, I just saw the term Gauntlet Royale in the chat, and that's not the worst thing in the world I could conceive.
Yes, I suppose on a scale of worst things in the world, that is not the worst thing in the world. Sure. I liked Gauntlet Legends, which was that arcade reboot they did.
Yeah, that was all right.
It was okay.
Does that differ much from the N64 version? Because I don't.
That's a home port of that
Good for them.
game. That N64 game is just the home version of Gauntlet Legends.
All right.
Yeah, or Dark Legacy. They did an update. They did like an expansion pack basically that was, I think, Gauntlet Legends Dark Legacy. Was that what it's called? Anyway, there was some kind of update to it that added some more stuff. But yeah, what else you got, Ben?
All right. Next B-mail here. Subject line, too little to save. This is from Michael in Concord, North Carolina. Hey guys, I was recently foraging around for food in my fridge at 2 a.m. and I discovered my wife had placed a single green olive in a glass container with a lid on it. I found it absolutely absurd that she didn't want to just eat the last olive. How do you feel about this? What is too little food to save? Thanks for the years of laughs.
What if that single olive actually belongs to the devil, and by eating it, you are ensuring your eternal damnation?
Yeah, you ever think of that, Michael? You ever think of the devil?
Don't you want to save your wife?
In a little more secure location, but yeah, what if?
Or put a note on it that says, "Don't eat Satan.
Do not eat."
I get it, because I've been in a scenario where there's 3 cookies left, and I could easily eat these 3 cookies. But if I eat 2 or 2.5 of the cookies, I get the enjoyment of eating a cookie for one new day, right? Like, that's what it's about. It's not necessarily about eating the food. It's about enjoying the experience of eating it. And even a crumb can provide that experience. I think there's no minimum.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think there's a minimum either. Maybe she was like, well, I've saved one of these olives for a drink tomorrow because I need a drink because I'm married to this lug.
He's judging me about my olives again.
Judging me about my olives. Stop looking at me while I'm eating my olives.
Or it's one of those things of like, I can't eat all the olives in the jar. Oh my God. And so it's like a mental thing of just like, if I save one, I didn't eat an entire jar.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I think as long as you're going to eat it later, and then save whatever you got. I have saved chip crumbs at the bottom of a bag that is like an alarmingly low number of chips, but I came back the next day and finished it off. So
can't do it with drinks. Can't do it with drinks unless it's water. You open a soda, you got to finish the soda.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What about like a 2-liter?
No, you got to finish the soda. You only buy a 2-liter for parties, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
On.
All right. Next email. Bombardiers, what is your favorite poorly translated thing in a video game? It seemed to be more prevalent in older games, but I'm sure there are good recent ones too. They go on to mention their favorite is Bimmy and Jimmy from Double Dragon 3.
Bimmy and Jimmy.
Yeah,
it's fresh on my mind because of watching it on stream recently. But I think a classic "All Your Base Are Belong to Us" is just, it has a staying power to it. And someone set us up the bomb. That whole dialogue. I think is
that whole chunk in Zero Wing is. They were right to do what they did with it and make it immortal. Like it's a very good chunk of bad text.
SNK quotes, win quotes for years.
Oh yeah,
I like the Samurai Showdown intro is a classic.
Yeah,
they're all so good.
There once were a man.
Yeah, that whole thing. Gosh, just a disaster. Yeah, the SNK stuff is really good with that stuff.
The truck have started to move. Obviously, another classic.
Oh yeah, all that Metal Gear stuff. Like it's especially when it's stuff that like obfuscates what you're even supposed to be doing. Where you're like, wait, I feel asleep. Didn't actually. So he feels asleep. Is he not actually asleep? Is he really like you? It's difficult to judge the state of that soldier. Bionic Commando had a lot of really good stuff.
NES is a gold mine of that stuff.
Yeah.
It's like rare, much more rare to find a game that actually is intelligible on that system.
Yeah, that was a golden era for all that stuff. Ben, what else you got?
Next up, simple question here from Patrick in Sumner, Washington. Was anything actually, quote, better with Kinect? Fruit Ninja. The only Kinect game I ever played.
Hmm.
Hunting
Star Wars
ghosts.
dancing.
Hunting
Star Wars
ghosts?
game. Oh, that Star Wars game is such a nightmare.
Intel discovered the Kinect game that had
Best use of LMFAO.
yeah.
Were they both
that
in
had
it, or was it just Red Foo?
It's just Red Foo.
Okay, my apologies. Sky Blue
Who's
was
the other
not
guy?
associated.
Sky Blue. Okay.
Sky Blue was busy.
See how fast you could name both members of LMFAO.
I think that's really a race to can you remember the person who isn't Red Foo?
Sure.
We had an email that was like, "Is 2021 the year of the return of LMFAO?"
Yeah, like they
so I guess
broke
I'll
up,
just
right?
answer that one. Yeah,
Yeah.
they cited differences, but I think they
That's
could heal them.
sad. Yeah.
I think if you are party rocking for that, and then Red Foo went on to release some solo stuff that also like is like kind of knockoffs of LMFAO hits. Like party rocking, I believe, is referenced directly in one of the songs in a way that you're just like, all right, dude. Trying to keep it going. I get it.
Party rocking is an idea, Jeff. It's a state of being. It's not something you can copyright, man.
No, but like I'm just
Life
saying
rock.
that like he did not. It did not hit the same way.
Wasn't at least one of those dudes like super connected in the music industry, like famous relatives?
They're
or
related
something?
to
Barry
yes.
Gordy.
Was it Barry Gordy?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Explained a lot.
Yes.
Hopefully, Jeff can explain a lot with the next question. This is a question for you specifically, Jeff. Jeff, can you explain the difference between a scumbag and a dirtbag? This is from Skull Crusher Mountain.
Well, I think it's just a level of harshness. Like that's probably on the same scale. Just scumbag is a little worse than a dirtbag. You could be a lovable dirtbag, but I think you could also probably be a lovable scumbag. But I think a lovable scumbag is probably like further down the hole where you're like, this person's probably actually irredeemable, but there's just a certain thing there. Whereas like lovable dirtbag is like, you scamp, you knucklehead. Whereas like scumbag is probably, there's trouble here. There's trouble here. That's what I'm going to go with.
Would you rather be scummy or dirty?
Ever look into the
dirty.
Ever look into the
Dirty.
origin of scumbag?
Oh yeah, I mean,
Not
yes,
right.
the actual. Yeah, I mean, if you want to get into actual origins of, then you know, I mean, scumbag
So-
is what it's a used condom, right? That's yes.
That says a lot.
At least they were being safe.
All right, next up, we've got an email here with a little visual element. Jan, if you want to get that cooking. Simple email here. No preface would do for the monstrosity in the link below, but it must be discussed. This is, and they sent a link here to something called the Scorpion Computer Cockpit.
Oh,
Jan's
yes.
pulling it up right now. Have you guys seen this thing?
Oh yeah,
Yes, yeah.
Yes.
Uh,
Why is there a drop down that requires you to select your voltage? Well, I guess that's for regions, right?
yeah.
Okay, yeah, okay, that's what it is.
Yeah,
Nope.
Jan. So if you want to
I don't
scroll
think so.
here a little bit, it's for the people who can't see. It is one of those full wraparound with like the screen in front of you, but it's like sharp. I don't know. Can one of you, Brad, maybe? Why?
I would
Why?
refer to it as a gamer throne.
This is like a station, though. This is. You mean business?
This is like you're flying drones in this thing. Like you're taking lives while couched within the Scorpion death chair.
Yeah, so if you picture like a scorpion, the tail wraps around your face with the thing, and it also has legs, like adjustable
Yeah,
legs, because they have
usability.
different poses at the bottom.
Ooh, pose 6 here
including
for the
one
folks
where you're
watching.
laying down. Yeah. Good for entry and exit. Watch videos and sleep.
Why
I
ever
guess my
leave
question to
the
you guys:
Scorpion murder chair?
would you sleep in this?
I'd take a
Ooh.
nap.
For the amount of money they want for it, I fucking do everything in it.
This thing like $4,000 or something.
Yep.
$3,399. Free shipping though within North America. So,
Oh, of course.
All right.
Oh, I want one.
Really?
Can we get one for the
Yes.
studio when we go back eventually?
Sure.
All right, Jason,
For
then you can
everybody.
answer my question. You invite somebody over to your home, and they walk
Yeah.
in and see that. What do you say to them?
I say nothing to
Say-
them. I just walk into my Scorpion death
you let
chair,
Fucking,
pull
you got a
down the
game for
monitor,
Scorpion.
and just ignore them.
If you have a
Yeah.
game for Scorpion, you let that thing do the talking.
Exactly.
They see that
I-
thing and they do.
This becomes your
I-
personality.
Yeah, I think you got to just you got to look at that and go, oh, that it's a sex thing, and then just keep moving. Like,
Would you
that's
game
the only
even
way.
better if you also wore the Scorpion jacket from Drive while you were in it?
Oh,
Yeah. I mean, yes. I mean, you're wearing that jacket, you would game better no matter what you're sitting in. So, of course.
I knew a guy that wore that jacket every single day for a full year.
Oh,
How
man.
is Jake doing?
Scorpion chairs. Wow.
There's something
All right.
I don't I don't have the room for it, but there's something about the idea of hey, I've got this fully ergonomic station set up, and I can be enveloped by the computer. That it's not the worst
Sounds
idea
great.
in the world, but where are you going to
Envelop
put
me.
it? Who the fuck is living that life? I don't have a
Right.
place to put that fucking thing.
How? Okay. I don't know if you guys saw it on the spec sheet, but how heavy do you think this thing is?
Oh God.
400 pounds.
I was gonna say 800 pounds.
Ooh.
Brad,
Oh man, I don't know. It's like 500 or something.
Ben.
280.
Apparently, the net weight is 265.
Wow.
That
Okay.
wins. He went over though, so
That's without the monitors.
Oh,
I mean,
right.
you're building 3 monitors to that thing. I think I'd also be scared because who is this company and are they making a sturdy thing, or are 3 monitors going to drop on my head in the middle of an intense session?
Only if you're in pose 6.
Yeah.
I mean,
And
this
I'm
is the
always
only
in
item
post
on their
6.
product page, so I'm gonna say no.
Yeah.
they know what
Right.
they're doing. That's what I'm going to say.
Yeah, I just wouldn't trust it. I wouldn't trust it.
Cloven?
Here's a follow-up email from Jamie in Essex. Easy to understand, yet difficult to master. It's one of those buzz phrases which gets thrown around the industry like confetti at a bar mitzvah. You're sick of it, I'm sick of it, and it's pretty much as meaningful as white noise at this point. But there are there any games which claim to offer the opposite? Namely, can you think of any video games that are difficult to understand, but once you're there, piss easy to master? A game that is borderline unplayable when you start, but once you get the hang of it, you pretty much got it down. Any thoughts, suggestions? The reason I bring up this email is, Jan, I don't know if you'd agree with me, but I feel like Mahjong sort of falls into that category.
Yeah.
Where there's a lot of rules up front about how you can score a winning hand and stuff, but once you kind of realize that, it's pretty easy. I mean, it's still a game with a lot of depth to it,
Yeah.
but
Yeah. You could totally, I guess, win a hand or a round, but you could get no points for it at all.
right.
And being able to recognize that is definitely one of those skills.
I would
So
say
just-
platform fighters. Once I figure out how to jump, and if there's a jump button involved, I just mash stuff and I win. It's
Yeah.
a kid's game.
I've never beaten Jason at any sort of platform fighter. That's why I've been
once I
banished
figure out
here
how to
in
jump.
this realm.
Yeah.
Right.
To the platform realm.
I saw somebody say
Boom.
Rogue, which is a pretty decent idea, but Rogue also has way more complexity. The more you play, and not to spoil any upcoming episodes of Going Rogue, but definitely has some you read a scroll and suddenly you're fucked without knowing why, which I think kind of goes against the premise.
I mean, that's why you collect things, and then you can identify stuff, right?
If you get an identify scroll.
Right. So that's the thing is that's always the risk, right? Is that you can use the random thing, but it might go bad. That's Rogue.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I'm aware. Yeah.
I'm just really bitter about the last one we recorded.
Okay. All right. I bet. All right. What else you got?
Next question. Hi, Bombers. If I told you that I had chips that are, quote, lunch flavored, what flavor do you think they taste like? Thanks, Zach from Canada.
A turkey
Bologna.
sandwich.
Lunch flavored.
Lunch flavored. Jan, you said bologna sandwich?
Brad said it. I said turkey sandwich.
Yeah, like some kind of like cold cut deli meat
Yeah.
kind of thing. I'm gonna say.
I guess. I'm trying to think of. I usually have breakfast food for lunch. I don't know.
I think it would taste
Nice.
like chips, personally.
Yeah, yeah, because
Yeah.
chips go with lunch. So, like, yeah, they would just be like
It's
they're
like
potato
plain
chips.
Pringles.
Extra potato chips.
Yeah, double
Okay.
potato,
Ooh.
Like, yeah,
twice
has anybody
baked, twice
Ooh,
baked
yeah.
Lays.
Has anybody ever made like a club sandwich flavored chip?
Oh, that'd be good.
Oh,
You get a
yeah.
little bit of like bacon in there, a little bit turkey in there.
Mm. And you get like a little
Ooh.
apple aftertaste because that's the fruit you brought.
Yeah.
Sure. What if it tasted like school lunch hot dogs?
Oh hell yeah! So it's kind of cold sometimes.
I don't think we ever got hot dogs for the school lunch.
Yeah, I don't
Damn.
remember getting hot dogs.
Oh, if it's sheet pan
Pizza,
pizza,
sure.
I'm there.
Yeah, we did. We
Yeah.
definitely got that shitty rectangular pizza.
Yeah, I hated
Yeah.
that shit. But the
What?
they would do hot dogs, I think, twice a month, and then eventually pizza became so popular that they started doing it like I think every single Wednesday was just here's more of that shitty pizza.
Oh my god!
Uh,
You know when I don't know how it
Right.
came for you guys, but did it come in like a paper sleeve? The sheet pan
No.
pizza.
No, it was in a
It's all right on
tin
the tray.
covered in tin foil. Like
Okay.
it was always two sections. There was the prepackaged, like sectioned off cold section. That was like here's some fruit or whatever, and then the and that was the same every day pretty much, or it was a very, very like low variety there. And then the hot section was the part that rotated out, but that was always a tin foil thing.
Because in elementary school, they would put the sheet pan pizza, like the cheese and like pepperoni slices into like a paper pocket thing, and then it would always fuck up the cheese on top. But then, a bunch of dumb elementary school kids, we all loved eating the cheese paper, peeling the cheese off. That
Yeah.
an acquaintance of mine started selling his cheese paper to other kids. We were like, all right, who
Smart.
wants my cheese paper for $0.25? And
Wow.
people would buy it.
I would probably buy it.
I'd buy it.
Yeah, for $0.25. That's it's good eating.
I'd sell it. I feel like I would be in the cheese paper selling end of that.
You get your people
Hustling
that
cheese paper off of other people who are gonna like just throw it away or whatever.
Yeah, I'd be going around. I'd be the guy to see if you're looking to buy some cheese paper or
All right.
fake LSD. Go on, Ben. What else you got?
Simple question here. Now I'm gonna make it a little more complicated. What's worse, the drowning Sonic music in Sonic 1 or Baby Mario in Yoshi's Island? Can you think of a worse video game sound?
Ooh, that's actually a
Baby
tough
Mario is
call.
way
Both of
up
those
there.
are like maybe two of the most anxiety-inducing sounds I can imagine.
Yeah, I don't know that I
'cause-
can pick actually.
As somebody who's been playing Mario or Yoshi's Island recently, I might have to go with that one. Just
I think
because,
that one's
like,
worse. Yeah,
yeah.
that one is just the sound of a baby crying is so stressful. Even though, like, I don't have a baby, I've never had a baby, but
Oh,
I
see,
still
the thing
never
is, like,
met a
if I
baby.
hear a baby crying, like my heart kind of goes out to it. Like I feel sympathetic, right? But I
Yeah.
hear this baby Mario crying, and I just want to punch the fucking thing. I want it to stop so bad that I just want to punch the baby.
I was.
I'm sorry.
and there's your podcast.
No.
Oh, boy, I
punch
don't
the
know.
baby.
We won't advertise any baby violence.
I would like to my suggestion for one worse is Hey Listen.
Yeah.
I feel like I did not mind that game until people started trying to say it was like the worst thing ever, and then it's like, oh, I get it, but like in the act of actually playing that game, it never once bothered me. The Hey
Really?
Listen thing, never once.
I wasn't involved in like discourse around that game, and I came away from that game being like, this is one of the greatest video games of all time, and I never want to play it again because of that fucking little fairy.
Yeah. Yeah, that was something that never even crossed my mind as an annoying thing at the time when that game was released. It wasn't until later when more and more people started complaining about it. I was like, oh, I guess I see how that might be frustrating, but it never bugged me. I don't know.
Any other suggestions? Worst video game sounds?
I like the Sonic drowning music
I hate
because
it.
I like the sound effect of him getting the bubble. I think it's a cool sound effect, but also I like watching that motherfucker drown.
Yeah.
All right.
But he always just comes right back.
Yeah.
At least, you know.
What else you got, Ben?
All right, let's go with.
Mm-hmm.
That one.
Here's a little. Maybe we can get a little history here. This is from Andrew in North Carolina. Every so often, the word shareware is mentioned. It sounds like there are connotations attached. My earliest gaming memory is playing Richard Carr's Treasure Island, which still had its original 90s site up advertising the shareware version. Aside from that instance, I rarely see the term used anymore. What is the reputation of shareware, or is it just an old, forgettable term?
It was a lot of
Demo, essentially.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah. Except
It's-
more. I mean, like
more.
you know, like Doom was originally a shareware release, and they gave away the first third of the game. You know.
Yeah, it's games that were episodic, not necessarily in like that an episode came later, but like you would download a game that had 4 episodes in it, 4 chapters or whatever, and then the first chapter would be free. So yeah, or like for Quake 1, there are 4 areas, and the shareware version of Quake 1 is the whole first episode of Quake.
Right.
Which I ran recently, and I'm not a speed runner, but I got to say, I played that first episode of Quake 1 in what must have been 20. Super fucking fast. Like I was expecting to be like, oh, I'll play through half of it, and then maybe I'll come back to it and never play it again or whatever. But booked through that fucking thing.
Yeah.
So
not
it was
much there
almost like a
unless you
demo.
wanna- unless you want to find all the secrets and stuff. But it
Yeah.
had multiplayer in it, so you could just kind of play the multiplayer of the Quake shareware forever if you wanted.
Right. Yeah. So it's a more substantial demo, or it was like, but it was kind of a distribution method of sorts, where sometimes you would have a case where the full game was there and you just needed a key to unlock it. But traditionally, it was like when you quit the shareware version of the game, a big screen popped up that said, "Here's the phone number you can call to buy the full version of the game, and then we will mail you discs after that." And
But as far
in
as
some cases, they were like, "We'll give you a BBS you can log on to, and you can call Software Creations BBS and download the full version if you pay us," or whatever it was. So yeah.
As far as the question about like the reputation of shareware, though, it's not like it was like shovelware or people looked down on it or something. Like the biggest games of the era were coming out as shareware, right?
But I feel like until Wolfenstein, there was some pretty. There's definitely some rotten shareware out there. There's some stuff out there.
Only bad games, but good games
But it was
were
like-
shareware.
Right. Independent games were shareware by and large, and I think that's pretty much how it worked. Ben, you got one more?
Sure. Let's have this last B-mail be about Third Eye Blind. Hey there, about 7 years ago, I saw Third Eye Blind once because my partner at the time, quote, loved them, and they were playing her college. It was an acoustic set with a drum kit, and the bass mix was terrible. It made me physically ill, and I laid curled up in a ball in the cold bleachers waiting for it to end. What was your worst concert experience?
I tried to go, I can't remember if it was a festival or just a Radiohead show, but I tried to see Radiohead near DC like 20 years ago, and it started storming so badly that the stage started sinking.
Oh,
Wow.
that's bad.
And they evacuated the show, and then like 2 minutes after they got off the stage, the whole stage like aperture was struck by lightning.
Dang.
It was like one of the craziest storms I've ever been a part of, and I was just right out in the middle of this field with everybody fleeing for their lives.
Yeah, no, I'm trying to think. Like, I didn't go to a ton of shows, so I don't know that I have any. I mean, it was like when I was in a band, we played a lot of fucking really fucked up places that were not good concert venues. Like somewhere in the middle of Central California, there was just a barn and they were putting on punk shows. And there was nothing to do in that town. So it was actually fairly well attended, but the toilet there had a mountain coming out of it. And so we had to go to this mini golf course up the street and use their bathroom. That was pretty disgusting.
I was at a 311 concert.
Good story. Yeah, I get it.
Yeah, there were 2 bathrooms, right? One male, one female. And there was a long line for the women's. Very short for the guys, probably 3 or 4 deep or something like that. Anyway, it became my turn, and I went to go in, and a girl jumped in there and said, "Can I go as well?" And I said, "You go on the sink." And made her go to the bathroom.
On the sink?
Yeah. So she pissed in the sink. I wanted to see if she would do it, and she did it. But
Yep.
I went. Yeah.
Thank you,
Also,
311.
at that 311 concert, my buddy got too drunk in the pregame show while we were tailgating, and he threw up all over my wife's car, and we just threw him in the back seat and ended up going home and didn't even go to the concert. So I didn't really want to go in the first place. Yeah.
Mine was going to my friend's punk show and going in a mosh pit for the first time. I got knocked on my ass, and when I looked to the left, I saw my foot next to my head. I was like, legs aren't supposed to bend that way, and so I had to call my mom to pick me up from the punk show.
Can you pick me up from the punk show, man?
And like I limped up to the car, and she's like, "Are you okay? Did something happen?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm fine. I'm okay.
That's all
Fine,
good. I get my ass kicked in the. Just fucking stay out of the pit, motherfucker. Nah, I don't know.
It was at the back of the closed creamery in Santa Rosa.
Okay, yeah.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. I have been. Yes, I think I saw Tsunami Bomb there at one point.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's going to do it for B-mails.
Yeah, that's going to do it for B-mails.
That's going to do it for B-mails.
Do I play the music again?
Till the next.
Yeah,
the next
play
time.
Play the music again.
Yeah, let him do it live this time.
Buzz, 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 buzz. That's right. It's B-mails. Yeah, that's it for
right.
B-mails because I'm out of here.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm leaving Giant Bomb after Game of the Year, and I've done a lot of introspection here in quarantine, let's say, and taking a lot of time to figure out what I want from my life and such, and if this is something I want to be doing forever. And I kind of came to the conclusion that not really. And I think I'm just gonna go fuck off into obscurity and enjoy personal life, because there's a lot of weird things about this job that people don't realize. Though I do really appreciate where it's going in a lot of senses. Like people are being more open about like mental health and politics and stuff like that, and I really appreciate that on a whole. But I think that yeah, man, I'm just gonna. I have an opportunity to take some pretty dramatic shifts in my life, and I'm gonna take them. So yeah, you won't be seeing or hearing much of me for a while. I'm not gonna be dead to y'all or anything, but
You can still be shitposting on Twitter here and there, right?
kind of not really. Like one of the more exciting things is that I'm not going to feel the need to really tweet anymore.
I respect that.
All
right.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm going to keep it short and sweet. I want to give people, closure and all that. But like, honestly, part of the reason that like the anxiety from thinking about how I have to announce I'm leaving this job is one of the side effects of why I don't necessarily want to continue doing
It's like really epitomizes why this is difficult. in the first place,
Yeah.
for sure.
So,
Well, yeah.
people are going to speculate and shit, and that's fine. But like, honestly, there's really no deeper. This is, I want to make it clear, this is not like because of the acquisition or anything. This is not like they asked me to leave or anything. This is fully my decision.
Yeah, I mean, if that was going to happen, it would have happened on the other side of this stuff. So, yeah. Well, we will miss you, Ben.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Thank you for everything.
Very much.
Yes.
Yeah. I'll miss you guys too. I really want to thank, Jeff and Brad and all the senior staff took a big risk hiring me. I was an intern and I did some videos for a couple other gaming sites, but I really didn't have a ton of experience with this sort of job. I want to thank Jan and everyone else and Abby and Alex and Alaska and Rory and like everyone who I worked with. It was truly awesome working with you guys. I learned a lot about myself. This was like 3 of the most formative years of my life. I started this job with like literally my house burning down and being forced to relocate. And I've moved twice since, I've just had all these weird life experience. I got to shake Ed Boon's hand and tell him that Mortal Kombat is kick ass. And a lot of other shit. Yeah, I was in a room with Werner Herzog when he did Simpson jokes and shit. But yeah, I think, I just want something a little more. I want a job that can be a job, and this job is something else. For better and worse, this job is something else.
Yeah. Something that you can walk away from. I totally get. I want to recognize.
I didn't know that was an option.
Apparently,
we can just go.
Do this long enough, it starts to feel like it's not.
Yeah.
I wanted to recognize the expertise that you have brought to the site, in particular on like some of the more like hardcore type genres, I guess is what I would consider them, like their Dotas and auto chess and variety of fighting games and stuff like that. Like I feel like you have had you've had a depth of understanding of a lot of that stuff that most of us don't, and I've really appreciated having like an expert source on a lot of that stuff over the years here.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I liked being able to play a video game and talk about it and like get really into the shit, because I just the reason we do this job is because we love games, and I think part of the reason is like that people get so burned out is it starts the line between enjoying video games and covering video games gets so blurred sometimes that it's hard to see one from the other. People don't want to talk about burnout with this job because part of it is you have to keep this public face about a lot of stuff. But like, I know a lot of people in the industry who are like, man, I wish I could go back to loving video games the way I used to, and all the power to the people that can still keep that up. Like part of the reason I want to leave is so that somebody who can keep that up can step, not necessarily into this role, but into the space, and I think there are people out there who can walk that line.
Yeah, for sure.
I miss you, Ben.
It's a weird line.
I mean, you're not dead, but
I mean, no, I will be alive for the next.
Us. I mean,
I die on the 23rd, I guess, the day after Game of the Year. So,
right. Yes.
With Game of the Year being my last thing, I've been trying to work with y'all to make it a good one, and I'm really excited about it. I'm really excited for like how we've been planning it. It feels like we are kind of more in sync this year than we ever have been on what we want to do with Game of the Year and what we think people want to see from it. And I'm just really excited for that.
Yes.
Yeah. Now we just have to hope that like the world cooperates and that next week is a week where we can do Game of the Year.
I was gonna say, we really made a situation for ourselves by doing it live. So it kind of sink or swim.
Yeah. Well, with that, we're gonna do an after show.
Yeah, we're gonna do an after show. Come on by. I'll chat with y'all about whatever. I mean, not anything, but
by come by, he means stay and chat if you're there.
Right.
And
everyone talking about Rogue finished. We will, one way or another, that series will conclude either through 13 runs or a successful game. We've banked a few of those. Those will be up soon.
Yeah.
Vinny and I realized there might be an awkward thing where the end of the videos start going up after I've left the site. But you know.
Right, because if we're doing Game of the Year next week, we're probably not going to put too much else up. But yeah, so we've got some more of those to record. So yeah, there may be some post Ben on the website, which
and there might be some post Ben on the website in the far future. Who knows? You know, you
never know.
Abby has already been on the Bombcast. I mean, I'll be off the grid for a while, but after that, who knows?
Oh, what are you doing like February 2nd?
Oh, I'm.
Well,
all right.
Well,
all right then.
That was,
I guess that's it for Ben rolled away. He rolled out of our lives. Stay tuned for the after show if you're in the chat right now. And we'll be back next week with Game of the Year. I was going to say another episode of the Giant Bombcast, but the plan is to, like, Monday morning, start live broadcasting Game of the Year and go through the entire week, knocking out those categories and that top 10 list. I'm sure it'll be totally smooth, right? I mean, it's a very easy year for video games. You know, we're all completely perfectly in sync.
And nothing is happening next week.
Yeah.
Nothing big.
And nothing's happening next week. So, you know, it's like, it'll be very easy to get done. So, yeah, we should have. Who could have known?
Yeah.
Actually. Anyway, we'll be back next week with something. Game of the Year. See you then.